Erica wants to find her true love, so she's visiting a speed dating event. She talks to 3 strangers. Each guy tells her some brief facts about himself. Victor says, "I'm an architect. I've recently built the largest skyscraper in this city, and now I want to settle down and find a beautiful wife." Jason says, "I run my own bakery chain. I've never had any serious relationships because I was too busy with my work." And Edgar says, "I recently got fired, but it's okay because my parents are billionaires. I'd like to find a soulmate to travel the world." Who should Erica choose? Take a closer look at Victor. His teeth are too sharp. He doesn't eat or drink anything, and he doesn't have any shadow. It's not safe to date a vampire. As for Jason, he clearly wore a wedding ring. There's a tan line on his ring finger. Therefore, he's a liar. That's why Erica should choose Edgar. After the event, Erica enters her favorite Indian restaurant near her apartment. She makes an order, puts her bag on one of the tables, and goes to the restroom. After a couple of minutes, she returns and finds out that someone had stolen her bag. The waiter says, "I saw someone with a neck tattoo running into the restaurant's second floor." Erica goes upstairs and finds 3 possible suspects. Can you spot the thief? This lady is the only one who has a big enough paper bag to hide Erica's bag, and there's also a wig inside her bag. The next day, Erica invites Edgar over for dinner. She has some candies in the kitchen. They look similar but have 3 different flavors: 3 orange, 2 strawberry, and 5 grape candies. Suddenly, the lights turn off in the entire building. Now the kitchen is completely dark. How many candies must Erica take out to make sure she has at least 1 candy of each flavor? To figure out the minimal number of candies, subtract 1 from the smallest number, and then add all the larger numbers to it, and you'll get 9. Today is Edgar and Erica's wedding day. Man, they move fast. In the morning, the bride is getting ready. First of all, she goes to the shower for 20 minutes. When she returns to her room, she finds out that someone had stained her wedding dress. Only the bridesmaids had access to this dress. So, Erica questions them. Lily says, "In the last 20 minutes, I was chatting with your mom in the living room. She can confirm my words." Rosie says, "I'm not proud of it, but I was in the kitchen secretly eating some snacks prepared for the wedding dinner." And Daisy says, "I've been dealing with a flower shop. They delivered the wrong flowers." Can you guess who stained the dress? It was Rosie. There's the same mud under her shoes. After landing, Edgar and Erica take a taxi and go to their hotel. Suddenly, they see a family of ducks crossing the road. Erica takes a picture, but unfortunately, it's unfocused. Can you count the exact number of ducks? Let's take a look at one duck at a time. We can see 2 beaks, so there's another duck behind the first one. And here we have 2 little ducks near the bigger one. And this duck is single. So far, the overall sum is 6. This guy is not a duck, it's a goose. But there's 1 more duck hiding behind him, and 3 more over here. So the overall number is 10. Erica and Edgar arrive at their hotel. 4 employees greet them in the lobby, but one of them is an imposter. Can you guess who? Take a look at the logo of this hotel. It's a lotus with 6 petals, but the logo on this lady's badge has a 5-petal lotus. Therefore, she's a fake employee. The hotel manager gives the guys a key to the best room for the newlyweds. They go to check out the room, but when they see the interior, they immediately ask for another one. Why? There's a transparent lizard crawling along the curtains. This potted flower has teeth, and someone is clearly peeping at them through the eyes of this portrait on the wall.
It's Lily's birthday, and Leah offered to treat her to a spa day. They arrived at the marvelous Pink Lotus Boutique Spa for their day of treatment and were sent to different rooms. One of the women received a text on their phone saying, "Be careful. Take a look at the image. Can you tell which friend is in danger?" It's Lily. The drink on that waiter's tray is definitely poisoned. She should get out of that place as fast as she can. Hello. Jonah woke up in a different timeline. Normally, he was a straight A student, but in this reality, he was a pretty bad student. His teacher put him in detention to see if his grades would get any better. During detention time, he had to solve some puzzles. For each puzzle he solved, he got points that would help him raise his grade. His first task was to find the difference between both images. He only had a few seconds, though. Can you help? Yep, that one on the right didn't have the scribble on the paper. For his next detention challenge, Jonah had to spot the difference between these two rabbits riding a motorcycle. Don't ask too many questions, just help him out. Yep, it was the helmet all along. Dana is a swimming champion preparing for her competition on Monday. 24 hours before the big day, she disappears. Nobody can find her. Her mother calls the police and asks them to investigate the crime, and they come up with 3 suspects. All of them are swimmers. Hannah says she hasn't spoken to Dana since their last practice. Ashley explains that she invited Dana for lunch on Saturday, but Dana refused because she was getting her hair done for the competition. And Melanie says that she spoke to Dana the night before. Dana told her that she was feeling anxious before the race. One of the swimmers is lying. Who is it? I mean, it's definitely Ashley. It doesn't make sense for a swimmer to get her hair done before a swimming match. It will get wet anyways. Daniel is a sailor on a large cruise ship. One day the captain asked him to go to the ship's lowest deck and get some supplies. But as the man was walking down the ladder, it broke and he fell down. Try as he might, he couldn't get out. And oh no! The situation was worse than he thought. There was a hole on the ship's hulk, and water was starting to fill the lower decks. Take a look around. Is there anything Daniel can do to save himself? Yep, he could put on a life jacket and wait for the water to fill the lower deck. He will simply float upwards, and then he can climb up those stairs again. I mean, if that ship doesn't go all Titanic, right?
Yeah!
Amelie was exploring her grandmother's closet when she came across something spectacular. A time machine. She set the date back to the 16th century and pressed go. She spent the day exploring a local market, but people kept looking at her differently. One man came up to her and said he knew she was a time traveler. He locked her in his basement and said he was going to look for where she hid the time machine. Amelie was so frustrated she got caught and was afraid she might never go back to her real life. That's when she saw that the basement had an old piano. Do you have any clue how Amelie can use that piano to escape? That's a tricky one, but she should play it until she finds the right key. You decided you needed to go on an adventure, so you packed your backpack and went hiking the Appalachian Trail. The thing is, since this was your first hike ever, you planned poorly. Your water only lasted for a day, and you needed a refill. There are 4 sources of water before you: a pond, a lake, a juicy cactus, and a stream. Which one should you drink water from? Most cacti are toxic, so you should keep away from them. The waters from the pond and the lake are stagnant water, so this means they could be filled with stuff that isn't good for you. So that leaves the stream water. Way to go, you. Oh, yeah. It's getting rather late, and you realize you're lost in the middle of the forest. Your phone's GPS is not working, and you're standing at a fork in the road. You can choose between 4 roads leading north, south, west, or east. The path that heads north will lead you to a black hole. The road that leads south goes through a lake full of huge whale sharks. The one that leads east passes through a crater-sized hole. And the one that leads west will take you to a sky-high mountain that is impossible to climb over. Which way will you choose? You should head south. Whale sharks pose no threat to people, and it's probably not true that they exist inside that lake. I mean, they are sea creatures. Harry has spent the last 2 weeks in Egypt exploring ancient pyramids. He's an archaeologist, and he was looking for some groundbreaking discoveries on the history of the mummies. Inside one of the pyramids, he found a secret chamber. Written on this chamber's walls was this: if one can answer correctly, an ancient secret will be revealed. And right below this, Harry found a riddle. The next answer that should escape your lips should be the creature wrapped up in cloth strips. Can you guess what Harry should answer? Mummy! He should simply say the word mummy. Tom escaped from prison by digging a long tunnel in the floor of his cell. He had been crawling through the underground tunnel for 3 hours when he saw that the main tunnel was divided into 3 smaller ones. The first tunnel was on fire. The second tunnel was home to a nest of venomous snakes, and the third tunnel was filled with explosives. Which tunnel should Tom take to continue his prison break? He should choose the tunnel with fire. He can put the fire out with the dust from the ground and make his way to freedom. Yeah! Sierra wanted to go to her favorite band's concert, but she didn't have enough money to buy the tickets. Her local radio station was putting on a contest, and the winner would get tickets to the show. All she had to do was answer their riddle correctly. She called the radio station, and they asked her, "Every night I'm told what to do, and each morning I do what I'm told. But I still can't escape your scold. What am I?" Sierra won the tickets. Can you guess what she answered? The correct answer is an alarm clock. Sounds just about right, doesn't it? Amy woke up on an estranged island. She looked everywhere for something that could help her escape and found nothing. In the following days, she continued to look for something that could give her some direction, and came across 3 torn pieces of paper that could be joined to make one. She put everything together and managed to escape the island by water, using no other resources than the things she found. Can you figure out how she managed to do that? This one is tricky. Nothing was the name of the boat she found abandoned on the island. Ooh. Then she found torn pieces of paper that together made up a map. The map helped to guide her to the nearest inhabited island, and the boat helped her get out by water. Yes! Mirabelle walked into her father's deli and asked for a sandwich to go. When she looked to her right, she noticed something extremely out of the ordinary. Take a look at this image. Can you tell what it was? A turtle is hiding under the counter. This sure isn't normal.
Uh-oh. Tommy was exploring old caves outside the city when he got trapped in a mysterious dungeon. There were 3 ways out, but only one of them was safe. Behind the first door, a fire was raging. Behind the second door, there was acid rain, which could melt any substance within seconds. Behind the third door, there was a huge brown bear that hadn't eaten for 2 years. Which way should Tommy choose? Tommy should choose the third way. No animal can go for 2 years without food and survive. Barely. It was a stormy day, and it had been raining for several hours straight. A car accident happened in a tunnel. The yellow car crashed into the red one. The driver of the yellow car said it had been raining so heavily he hadn't seen anything, so the accident wasn't totally his fault. But the police asked the man to stop lying and claimed it was all his fault. Why? The accident happened in the tunnel. It couldn't be raining there. Mrs. McAdams, who was having a day off with her friends, came back home in the middle of the day to change her clothes. There, she found out that her daughter, Eveline, who she'd grounded, wasn't at home. Mrs. McAdams got angry and texted Eveline, asking where she was. Eveline texted her back, saying she was at school. The girl even attached a picture of the classroom. Mrs. McAdams didn't believe her daughter and told her to come home immediately. How did she understand Eveline wasn't at school? Look closely at her cell phone. It's Sunday. There's no school on Sundays. Ned works in a club. His job is to check people's ID cards and to not let suspicious people or people younger than 21 years old get inside. Take a look at these 3 ID cards and figure out who shouldn't enter the club. The first person is already 21, and nothing else looks suspicious in his ID. The second girl seems alright too. It's written that Brielle was born on September 31st. But such date doesn't exist. Her ID must be fake. Mrs. Cabell is the owner of a small company producing expensive designer cups. On Friday, when the working week was finally over, she got a call from her bank. The woman found out that someone had stolen all the money she had saved. Mrs. Cabell realized it must have been one of her workers, so she asked each of them what they had been doing that day. Sloan, a sales manager, said she had been talking to their clients and looking for new ones. Atticus, a potter, said he always made 1 cup a day, and he showed all the cups he had done that week. Sierra, a designer, said she had been working, but she also admitted she hadn't been really productive that day because of some family issues. Who lied? Atticus. There are 5 working days in a regular week. The man said he made 1 mug a day, but he only showed 4 mugs. It means he missed 1 day of work. Lennox and Finn were friends living in the same college dorm. One day, Lennox reported that something had happened to his friend. He said Finn hadn't left his room all day. He also never responded to any of Lennox's texts. In the evening, Lennox started to worry and knocked on Finn's door, but the guy didn't answer. Lennox peeked through the keyhole and saw that his friend was lying on the floor, so he called the police. After that, Lennox got arrested. Why? Lennox has a bandage on his right eye, but the keyhole is located in such a way that it's only possible to look inside with the right eye. It means the guy couldn't do it. He simply knew what had happened. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. For about the 20th time. Hey, don't ask. Anyway, she found the witch's house, walked in, said hi, petted the cat, and asked the witch to show her the way home. But the witch had a problem. She was learning a new spell and accidentally did something strange to her chairs. On the bright side, she now had a riddle for Esme to solve. The witch had 20 chairs. Now, some of the chairs only had 2 legs, and half of the rest had no legs at all. How many legs did all these 20 chairs have in total? We know that some of the chairs have, on average, 2 legs per chair. The rest of them have either 4 legs or no legs at all. And since half of the rest have no legs and the other half have 4, together they have 2 legs per chair. So there are exactly 40 legs. Mr. Tucker was a businessman. He wanted to find an interesting hobby to impress people. He chose art, even though he knew nothing about it. Still, he kept buying paintings and even owned a couple of famous masterpieces. He liked to invite his potential business partners over to show off his collection. One day, his guest was Miss Geneva Darby, a young lady who owned a jewelry business. As always, Mr. Tucker boasted about his collection, but Miss Darby wasn't impressed. Why? Look closer at this supposedly 16th century painting. There are a couple of cars on the road, but there were no cars at that time, so the painting must be fake. Evie and Kai were planning to go on a bike tour with their friends. Unfortunately, Evie didn't feel well, so she canceled on her friends and asked Kai to stay with her. Kai was disappointed but agreed. Evie fell asleep. When she woke up, she already felt better. She offered Kai to ride their bikes a bit, just the two of them. But when they went outside, Evie realized that while she had been sleeping, Kai had been out with the friends without her. How did she understand it? Look, Evie's bike is all wet. It must have been raining while she was asleep. But Kai's bike is dry. It means that he used it and then wiped it off. Or maybe he wasn't even in the area when it was raining. 2 weeks ago, a bank was robbed, but the robber hadn't been found yet. A phone call woke Detective Callum up in the middle of the night. His colleague reported that a farmer had found the money. When the detective arrived, he questioned the farmer. The man said, "I argued with my wife and went outside. That's when I found a bag with money in a cornfield." Detective Callum asked if the farmer had noticed anything suspicious before. The farmer replied, "About 2 weeks ago, before going to bed, I looked out of the window. I saw a man walking through the field. It was a full moon and I could clearly see his silhouette. But there wasn't enough light to notice more details about him." The farmer was arrested. Why? The farmer said it had been a full moon 2 weeks before. But it's impossible. As you see, it's a full moon now. The farmer is lying. But why? Ashley was hurrying to an unplanned business meeting. She asked her boyfriend, Dean, to walk the dog. Dean agreed. But then his friend called and invited him to play a new video game. So the guy decided to skip walking the dog that day and joined his friends. He and Ashley met right outside the house when they both were going back home. Ashley asked what Dean had been doing. The guy said, "I walked the dog and then went to play video games with my friends." Ashley immediately understood he was lying. How did she figure it out? It's winter. Look at the footprints in the snow. There are Ashley's footprints going both ways and Dean's footprints going both ways too. But there are no dog footprints. Mrs. Rivers reported that someone had broken into her house. They stole all the money and jewelry she kept in her living room. Detective Callum arrived to investigate the crime. The room was a mess. It was obvious that someone had been looking for something there. But in the end, the detective concluded that there was no robbery. Mrs. Rivers made the whole thing up. Why did he decide so? Look at this very expensive and fragile tea set lying on the floor. If a criminal had really been there, he wouldn't have cared about the set. It would be smashed after falling down. It seems that when Mrs. Rivers was staging a robbery, she didn't feel like breaking her expensive tea set. Viviana and Malcolm were working outside. Malcolm was repairing the roof, and Viviana was working in the garden. Suddenly, a hammer fell from the roof and hit Viviana on the head. She was taken to a hospital, and the police came to figure out what had happened. When Malcolm told them everything, the police arrested him for staging an accident. Why didn't they believe the guy? Viviana was working right next to the house. She was sitting under the roof. If the hammer had fallen accidentally, it would have slid down the roof and fallen behind the woman's back. It could hit her only if someone threw it at her on purpose. Well, that's not nice.
Molly, Holly, and Sally are going to the prom in a fancy limousine, but the car breaks down on the way. The party hall is nearby, so the ladies decide to walk. Suddenly, it starts to rain. Luckily, all three ladies have umbrellas, but still, one of them gets wet. Can you guess who? Holly. Her skirt is wider than the diameter of her umbrella. Finally, the ladies arrive at the prom. All of their friends look very elegant and fancy. Leah is wearing very expensive designer shoes. Bella carries a Chanel bag. Alice is taking selfies with the latest smartphone. And Kim is showing off a sparkling diamond necklace. But in fact, only one of them is wealthy. Can you guess who? Take a closer look at the logo. Bella's Chanel bag is fake. Leah's shoes are way bigger than her feet, so she probably borrowed them from someone else. As for Alice, the smartphone in her hand is not hers. It has Kim's name on it, so Kim is the richest person here. Kim goes to the dance floor. Bobby, Billy, and Kenny invite her to dance, but one of these guys was bitten by a vampire, so he's not safe to dance with. Can you guess who? Bobby has a red mark on his shirt, but it's just lipstick. Billy's drinking something red, but it's just a cherry punch. Meanwhile, Kenny doesn't have any shadow, so he's a vampire. Kim goes to the ladies' room, but all three stalls are occupied. There's a robot inside one of them. Can you guess where? Let's take a look at the first lady's feet. Ouch! She's rubbed multiple corns with her fancy sandals. She can't be a robot. As for the third lady, her pedicure is too messy for a robot. Therefore, the robot is in the second stall. Bella asks Kim to take her picture. Kim takes a couple of shots. Can you find 3 differences between them? Here they are. Kim goes back to the party and spots a runaway criminal among the guests. Can you see this person too? It's the show host. He's hiding a prison robe under his suit. At the party, Bella gets bitten by a vampire too. Kim takes her to the hospital. They meet 2 doctors in the lobby. One of them is an imposter. Can you guess who? Real doctors wear gloves, and the woman on the right doesn't wear any. Bella gets into a hospital ward with 3 other people. One of them is not sick. Can you guess who? The woman on the left looks perfectly healthy. She has her lipstick on and a glamorous hairstyle. Although her arm is broken, it doesn't mean that she's sick. Kim comes home from a long day. She's very excited to treat herself with a bubble bath. She's been dreaming about it all day. But someone used up all her bubble foam. Kim interrogates her family members. Father says, "I spent all day at the garage repairing my old car, and I haven't visited the bathroom yet." Mother says, "I was feeling sick all day, so I didn't pay any attention to your beauty products." And Kim's brother says, "It wasn't me who took your bubble foam, but I think it was Mom." Who did it? Take a closer look at Dad's beard. There's pieces of foam on it. Busted! The next night, Kim goes to a sleepover with her friends. One of them is a werewolf. Can you guess who? This guy is a werewolf. Take a look at his claws.
Oh no.
Kim puts some cash in a stash in her room and leaves for Granny's house. In a couple of days, Kim returns and realizes that someone had stolen her money. How did she guess? Kim's stash was in this book. It was on the shelf when she left, and now the book is gone.
Oh God.
Kim runs to the living room and yells at her family. Who stole my book? Everyone swears to have nothing to do with the robbery, but Kim spots the thief right away. What about you? It's the brother. He used the book as a stand for his PlayStation. Kim is watching a TV program about risky sports.
Oh.
Can you help her guess which guy has a better chance of survival?
Oh God.
The one who's falling into the snow has a higher chance to survive. Hitting the water can be tough, and he still needs to get out of the ocean. Kim's dad wants to buy a boat. His agent arranges a meeting with 3 people. Each tells a brief story about their boats. Karen says, "My husband gave me this boat 5 years ago as a wedding gift. That's why it has my name. But now I want to sell it because we don't use it." Charles says, "I inherited this boat from my father. It works very well, but I don't need it because I'm moving abroad." And Liam says, "I built this boat on my own, but now I'm building a bigger one, so I'd like to sell it to get some cash." One of the sellers is lying. Can you spot who? Take a closer look at the first boat. Its name is Karma, not Karen. Therefore, she's a liar.
Oh.
Kim goes to the nearby hardware store to buy something for her home. Kim asks, "How much for the one?" The shopkeeper replies, "It's $2. Then Kim asks, "How much for 11?" The shopkeeper replies, "It's $4. And finally, Kim asks, "How much for 100?" And the shopkeeper replies, $6. What is Kim buying? She's buying a house number. Each digit costs $2. Kim's cat, Fluffy, ran away. She's been looking for him in a forest all evening. Finally, she gets tired and heads home. But suddenly, she sees a witch's house on the way. Kim enters and faces the witch. Fluffy is sitting on her lap. The witch says,
"I'll release your cat if you crack my riddle. I have 2 besties who are identical twins. Emma was born in 2003 and Gemma in 2004.
"How is it possible?" They're twins, but they were born on New Year's Eve. Emma was born right before midnight and Gemma right after midnight. The next day, Kim meets a handsome guy who likes puzzles. She asks his name, but instead of answering directly, the guy writes a date on a piece of paper. Can you help Kim figure out his name? Each number implies a particular letter of the alphabet. The guy's name is Theo. Theo invites Kim to an art exhibition. Take a look at these squares. Which one is bigger, yellow or green? All these black and white squares usually confuse perception. but it becomes obvious that the green square is larger than the yellow one if we put them away. Kim asks Theo, "What month were you born?" He replies with 4 emojis. Can you guess the month? Jack-o'-lantern stands for J. The next emoji implies U. Nut stands for N. And eggplant stands for E. Theo was born in June. Kim and Theo go for a walk in an abandoned village. They see a sign leading to a famous haunted castle. There are 4 possible routes, but only one of them will actually lead them to the castle. Can you figure out the correct way? It's way easier to untangle this maze if you start drawing from the final destination. They should take Route B. Finally, Kim and Theo find the castle. They enter the property and see a fancy living room. There are 6 zombies hiding in the living room. Can you spot them? Hello! The guys run away from the zombies and hide in the basement. They wander around and see 3 doors. Suddenly, the basement begins to get filled with water. Kim and Theo have to choose a door quickly to escape. But each door has a surprise. There's a tank with a family of sharks behind the first door. There's a deep hole with sharp venomous corals behind the second door. And there's a tank with piranhas behind the third door. Which door is more or less safe? The second door. The basement is full of water, so they can swim over the corals.
Megan here is a popular blogger from New York.
Hello.
Today, she's meeting her bestie, Rosie, in her favorite cafe.
Hello.
They're both on a diet, so they only order herbal tea and a piece of chocolate cheesecake to share. Megan and Rosie have a great time together and post some food pictures. But an hour later, Rosie faints. Doctors reveal that she was poisoned. Let's take a look at Megan's post. Can you figure out where the poison was? Rosie put sugar in her tea, and Megan didn't, so the poison was in the sugar packet. After taking care of Rosie, Megan's finally headed home. The door in her apartment building has a combination lock, and someone has recently changed the 4-digit password. Luckily, Megan finds a hint nearby. Can you help her figure out the new code? Multiply the first and last number. Then multiply the second and the third number. And the code is 2516. Megan goes up to her apartment. There's a stunning sunset going on out the window. She takes 2 pictures for her Instagram. Can you find 5 differences between them? Ready to see the differences? Here they are. Megan decides to eat some snacks and watch the videos of her favorite bloggers. One of these 2 ladies is a millionaire, while the other one is broke.
Oh.
Can you guess who is who? The second lady is broke. Can you see the Eiffel Tower and Big Ben in the background? She can't be in Paris and in London at the same time, can she? So her photo is fake, as well as her fancy lifestyle. Megan gets some cheesy comments from one of her subscribers, Evil Eye. But she doesn't take it seriously. She spends a great night with her friends. Late at night, Megan is walking back home alone. Suddenly, Evil Eye appears right in front of her. He grabs Megan and puts her into the trunk of his car. Megan faints. After a while, she wakes up in a basement and sees her fan drawing some sort of a flower on the floor. He says, 2 letters are missing here. Guess which ones and I'll set you free. If you don't, you'll stay here forever. Can you help Megan out? The missing letters are M and E. Megan returns home and discovers that someone has stolen her laptop. Well, this just isn't her day, is it? She calls the police and they interrogate 3 neighbors. Holly says, "I was cleaning my apartment with loud music playing, so I didn't hear anything suspicious." Paul said, "I was walking my dog for the last 2 hours. We just returned home. Everything looked as usual." And Alex said, "I spent the whole day at home. I only went out once, about an hour ago, to take out my trash. I noticed a strange guy in a hoodie at your door, but he left very quickly." Who's lying? Alex. He said he had taken out the trash, but take a look at his trash can. It's still full. The next day, Megan gets good news from the police. They caught Evil Eye, and he's in jail now.
Oh, yes.
He insists that the officer should give this note to Megan, but she has no clue what this means. What about you? Ready to see the solution? The note literally says, "Jailbreak at 11 a.m." Yay! Megan's favorite blogger has just posted a "What I Ate in a Day" video.
Oh, yes.
See if you can spot anything odd here. Wow, she keeps a saw in the fridge. Here's the next video. Can you spot any mistakes? Yep, this rainbow is fake. Today is Megan's 30th birthday. She's been preparing for a party for weeks. She bought a beautiful dress, cooked plenty of food, and decorated the apartment. A lot of friends are invited, including Megan's boyfriend, Jeff. Before the event, he calls Megan, saying, "I'm in the office right now, but I promise to be at your place at 8 o'clock. Jeff comes home at 8:05. He brings flowers, a birthday cake, and a diamond necklace. But Megan is really mad. She throws the flowers into his face and bursts into tears. Why? Megan was expecting him to arrive at 8 p.m., but he came at 8 a.m. the next morning. In the evening, Megan decides to go buy some ice cream. She walks towards her favorite corner store on the block. Megan meets the owner of this store, Ted, on the street. Masked man has just robbed the store and took all the cash. Megan explores the space and the broken shelves. Then she says, "I don't think it was just an ordinary robbery. The thief must be your enemy."
Oh, really?
How did she know? Take a closer look at the floor. The salt packages have been torn. Also, the thief opened the bottles so that the oil would leak out on the floor. Why would an ordinary thief waste time opening the bottles? Therefore, they had an intention to cause as much damage as possible. Megan takes Ted out for coffee to cheer him up. The waiter brings them 2 identical servings. Well, almost identical. Can you spot 3 differences between them? Here they are. Megan gets an invitation to a fancy party for bloggers.
Yes!
Only those who can crack this maze will actually find a way in. Can you help Megan reach the party? She should choose the 3rd route. Megan reaches the final destination. There are 3 doors, all covered with graffiti. Can you help her guess where the party is taking place? Let's take a closer look at the lettering on the doors. If we replace each letter with the previous one in the alphabet, we'll get party, toilet, and exit. Therefore, Megan should enter the first door. Security guards at the party got a report. Several criminals are planning to get in. That's why they scan everyone's bags very carefully. They find 3 suspicious people and arrest them. But one of them is innocent. Can you guess who? The second lady carries too many phones in her bag. A couple of smartphones and one old-fashioned button phone. As for the third guy, why would a bald man need shampoo at a party? It seems only the first lady isn't a criminal. Megan enters the party and goes to the bathroom to refresh her makeup. There, she meets 3 pretty ladies. 2 of them are vampires. Can you tell who's not? This lady who's standing next to Megan is a human because she has a reflection. Therefore, the 2 others are vampires. Megan wants to rent a cozy cabin to spend a weekend in the woods. She's looking through a special app and finds 4 available options, but only one of them is safe enough. Can you help Megan make the right decision? The second house looks pretty cozy, but there's a creepy clown hiding behind the tree. And the price is suspiciously low. According to the info box, the third house was built 9 centuries ago, but it looks pretty modern, so it's probably a scam. The fourth house is chic and high-tech, but the window glass is covered with cracks, which is not safe at all. So Megan should choose the first cabin. Finally, it's the weekend. Megan hits the road to go to the cabin. On the way, she makes a stop to visit the local farmer's market. Megan picks some lemons. She wants to pay, but her phone is gone. She interrogates 3 people standing nearby. Kim says, "I didn't touch your phone. I was too busy selling my tomatoes." Magna says, "I was taking pictures of my shop for social media. See for yourself if you don't believe me." And Bianca says, "I think it was Kim. Her business has not been going well recently." After hearing what they had to say, Megan knows for sure who's the thief. What about you? Check out Magnus's basket with vegetables. He hid Megan's phone among the carrots. Megan orders a beverage at the local coffee shop and looks around. One of the customers is not human. Can you figure out who? The waitress. Her eyes are blinking red. Maybe she didn't get a tip. Thirsty on an island. Simon was shipwrecked and washed up on the shore of a deserted island. He's thirsty, and the only thing he has is a plastic bag and a straw. After looking around, he sees a juicy cactus, a tall leafy tree, a dirty pond, a pool of mud. How can he use the plastic bag to get water? He can't use the cactus. It can be toxic, and without a sharp tool to reach the pulp, the plastic bag is useless. The dirty pond and muddy pool are filled with bacteria and parasites, and without tools to start a fire and boil the water, he could get sick. The best bet is the tall, leafy tree. He simply needs to tie the bag on the edge of a branch and pierce it slightly with a stick. The tree will produce drinkable water through transpiration. Well, that's clever. Where's the waiter? Adam is the head waiter at a 1-story steakhouse. On the busiest night of the week, he vanished, and the owner called the police to file a missing persons report. Detectives talked to the last 3 people who saw him. A trainee server said she only saw him when he got to work and parked his bicycle. The chef said he saw the waiter in the kitchen when he came to get a glass of orange juice. The cook said he last saw the waiter going upstairs. After the statements, the police arrested the cook. Why? This was a one-story restaurant. He couldn't have gone upstairs. Spilling the tea. Susie went to study for her university exam at a coffee shop. She ordered a white tea and sat down. 10 minutes later, she got up to go to the bathroom. When she returned, her laptop wouldn't turn on and her teacup was empty. Someone had spilled the tea on her computer and cleaned it up. She called the manager, told him what happened, and they came up with 3 suspects. The barista said he had been swamped and didn't see anything. The supervisor said he was sorry that the milky tea spilled on the computer, and he could see if insurance would cover the cost. The head barista said he was sorry the milky tea spilled on her laptop, and he'd make her another one while they waited for the police to arrive. Immediately, the store manager knew who did it. It was the supervisor. He couldn't have known that the tea had milk in it since it was cleaned up. The only person who remembered the order was the one who prepared it. The missing phone. We're at the coffee shop again. This time, Stuart forgot his phone on the table when he left. But once he realized and came back, his phone was gone. He saw a guy running outside the store, and Stuart chased him. When he caught him, Stuart said, "I've lost my device. Did you take it by accident?" The man replied, "I have no idea where your phone is, sir. I was just grabbing coffee." Stuart immediately called the police. Why? Stuart told him he lost his device. That could have been anything from a smartwatch to a camera or something else. The guy couldn't have known it was a phone unless he took it. Where did the baker go? The Cupcakes Den is a local shop that became famous for its tasty, well, you guessed it, cupcakes. On Monday morning, the head baker vanished, and the shop couldn't deliver the 200 cupcakes they had promised for a birthday party. The owner called the police, and they had 3 suspects in their custody. The helper said he had gone out to buy more frosting, but when he returned, the baker was gone. The waiter said he had been cleaning the shop of the massive mess from making the 200 cupcakes. The manager said he was meeting with a new supplier to get more beef jerky at the shop. The detectives knew who was lying. Can you guess it? It's the manager. Who needs beef jerky at a cupcake shop? Get the last question right. Adam was taking part in a Brain Teaser TV game show, and he had one last question to answer before winning $50,000. He was tired and decided to call his best friend Luke to help him. The host asked, "If you could rearrange the order of the letters in this word, ACIPCIF, what does it show? A country, a city, a large mountain, or an ocean?" Luke answered correctly. Can you? An ocean. If you unscramble the word, it shows Pacific. Where's he hiding? Martin vanished one morning and his family called the police. Detectives searched everywhere and questioned 15 people, but none of them gave any untruthful answers. His son Jake found a letter from his dad saying, "If you love me, you'll find me." He went to his father's office to see if he could find any clues. He was looking around the room and immediately knew where his father was hiding. Can you guess it? On the wall, there's a picture frame with his dad's cabin, and it's got a hand-drawn circle on it. He must be there. Lost in an underwater cave. Sarah just got her certificate as a cave diver. She decided to spend her afternoon exploring some dangerous underwater ocean caves. While turning left and right, she got lost. She didn't have enough time to look for her way back and continued swimming further. That was when she came across 3 openings. Through the first, there were 45 hungry piranhas. Through the second, a great white shark. And through the last one, a giant box jellyfish. Which is the safest path? The first one. Piranhas are freshwater fish. They can't survive in salt water. The van. Susan was outside watering her plants when she noticed 3 people dressed in black clothing carrying electronic devices from her neighbor's home. She asked them what they were doing, and they said they were from a moving company. Immediately, Susan called the police. Why? There were no license plates on the van, and movers don't only carry electronic equipment, but all sorts of stuff. The prison escape. One morning, Detective Smith was called into a maximum security prison to discover how 3 men had managed to escape from their cells. The prisoners could neither see nor talk to each other, but they arranged their escape together. They went to the shower room at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and only one person was allowed in at different periods. How did they manage to communicate and escape? They wrote messages to each other on the bathroom mirrors, used steam to read them, and planned their escape together. The villa disappearance. It was a cold, rainy weekend. Michael, Susie, Amara, and Luke were spending Saturday and Sunday together playing board games. On Saturday morning, when they woke up, Amara was missing. They looked everywhere for her but couldn't find her. That was when Luke called the police. Detectives examined the room and asked everybody what they were doing at 4 a.m. Luke said he couldn't sleep, so he went downstairs to the gaming room to play some online games. Michael said he couldn't sleep either, so he went outside to look at the stars. Susie said she followed Michael outside to get some fresh air. That was when the detectives figured out who was lying. Michael and Susie. It was a rainy weekend, remember? The cursed photo. Alan was on his final stretch to becoming a detective. He passed a bunch of assessments until he reached the last one. This was where his attention to detail skills would be tested. The chief of police handed Alan a photo. He told him, "This is Michael. He's having a birthday party. But something in this photo is very eerie." Alan spotted it in 2 seconds. Can you? There's a hand inside the blue balloon. Well, how did it get there? The right amount of water. Peter was the best problem solver in his class. One day, his chemistry teacher called him up to test his intelligence and inspire his peers. He gave Peter 3 glass jugs. None of them had any measuring markings on them, but just a label showing their maximum capacity. The first jug was filled with water up to the top, and the label read 8 liters. The second was empty, and its label showed 5 liters. The third was also empty, with a maximum capacity of 3 liters. The teacher told Peter to arrange the liquid so that only 2 liters remained in one glass jug without using any measuring tools. Peter figured out how to do it in 4 seconds. First, he needs to fill the 5-liter jug all the way to the top. Then he needs to pour the water from the 5-liter jug into the 3-liter jar until it's full. What remains in the 5-liter jug is 2 liters. The treasure coin. An archaeologist spent the past year looking for a lost ancient treasure. As he was digging, he found one ancient gold coin. He took it to his museum. When his colleagues carefully cleaned the coin and took a closer look, they refused to accept it. Why? It reads 100 BCE on the back. Ancient people didn't know they lived in that era. Or did they? No, they didn't.
There was an incident in a secret laboratory. One of the scientists released a substance that turned people into vampires. Detective Reed arrived at the scene to interview 3 witnesses. The first scientist, Michael, said, "I stopped by the lab this morning to pick up some notes. The machines were working just fine, and I didn't see anyone. I took the papers and left." The second scientist, Lindsay, said, "I closed the lab at night. One of the PCs was faulty, but I was very tired and decided to leave it till the morning. Unfortunately, I overslept." And the third scientist, Jennifer, said, "I got up early and went to the lab to check the devices. No one seems to have entered the room. I fixed one of the computers and left." Which one of them was lying? Michael is lying. One of the computers was actually faulty, and Jennifer spent the whole morning fixing it. If Michael had walked into the lab, he would have known about it, or Jennifer would have noticed him. So he must have entered the lab after the others had already left. But why would someone release such a dangerous substance? Michael didn't want to confess, so Detective Reed decided to investigate the crime scene to find out who was behind this. Take a look at this picture. Is there anything suspicious? It looks like Michael dropped an ID card. And look, it doesn't belong to him. The name on the card is George Wilson. Let's ask him about the incident. Detective Reed went to Mr. Wilson's office to ask him about the incident. "Oh yeah, I gave my pass to Michael," Mr. Wilson said. "But that's only because I had left something in the lab. My glasses. I didn't have time, so I asked Michael to pick them up." Well, that's not a very clever excuse, but how can you prove the man is lying? There's an open glasses case on the table, and the glasses are inside. But Mr. Wilson, didn't you say that you left them in the lab? "Oh, did I say my glasses? Sorry, I meant my papers. I made this mistake because I asked my secretary Shirley to look for my glasses yesterday." Find something to prove Mr. Wilson is lying. There's a calendar on Shirley's desk. Yesterday was her day off. It's marked red. Mr. Wilson is lying. Mr. Wilson was arrested, but people have already begun to turn into vampires. Can you guess who's actually a vampire? The woman on the right. She's putting on her makeup, but do you see? She isn't reflected in the mirror. Meanwhile, those who haven't turned into vampires gather everything they might need to survive. Which of these people is more likely to stay alive? All these supplies won't protect the guy on the right from vampires. As for the girl on the left, she's stocked up on what she can to defeat the vampires. She has a higher chance of survival. Let's check out the subway. There are 2 women here. Which of them is not pregnant? The girl on the left is not pregnant. Look, her belly is of a very strange shape. That's because she has hidden her survival supplies under her clothes. Vampires decided to throw a party. Who among those present is actually an undercover human? The guy on the left is a human. He's wearing makeup and false teeth. Nikki is also trying to survive. She packed her things and decided to move to a neighboring town. But suddenly, a vampire charged at her car. He damages the vehicle and takes away some supplies. Fortunately, he doesn't manage to bite Nikki. She escapes. Nikki has to stay home. The next day, a young man knocks on her door and asks for help. Is it okay to let him in? Nope. He has the same scar on his cheek like the vampire from the day before. Nikki continues to hide at home. One day, some girl starts knocking on her back door. Please help! A pack of vampires is chasing me! Nikki opens the door. The girl is out of breath, but she manages to say, They're almost here. Can I come in? Is it safe to let her in? No! This girl is a vampire. Anyone in this situation would immediately run inside the house, but vampires can't come in without an invitation. Nikki was checking her house and suddenly noticed that there was someone in the attic. She approached the shadows. It was a father and daughter. Please don't kick us out. Sorry, we snuck in without permission. We've been trying to hide from the vampires. The father said, Is it safe to let them stay? Yes, firstly, they're sitting in the sun, but their skin seems to be okay. Secondly, they managed to enter the house without an invitation. That means they're humans. Nikki let them stay. Let's take a little break. Time for some quick riddles. Think fast. A vampire lived in a one-story black cottage. He had a black cat, a black fish, a black computer, a black armchair, a black desk, and a black phone. Everything was black. What color was the staircase? There was no staircase in that house because it was a one-story cottage. 3 vampires are walking fast. The first vampire says, 2 other vampires are walking behind me. The second one says,
1 vampire is walking behind me, and 1 is walking in front of me.
And the third one says, 2 vampires are walking in front of me, and 2 are walking behind me. How is that possible? These vampires are walking in circles. Humans, vampires, and werewolves gathered in one mansion. There are as many werewolves as there are vampires. There are as many vampires as there are humans. How many creatures are there if 3 of them are werewolves? There are 9 creatures in the mansion, 3 werewolves, 3 vampires, and 3 humans. Now let's go back to Nikki and her adventures. Nikki, Peter, and his daughter Becky decided to go to another town together. It takes 2 days to get there. They drove all day until night fell. Now they have 3 options. First, they can continue driving until the morning, despite the fact that they may meet a lot of vampires along the way. Second, they can spend the night in the nearest cave with bats. And third, they can sleep in the car. Which option would be the safest for them? Sleeping in the car is a bad idea. Vampires can sneak up on them in the middle of the night. A night in a cave is also a bad option. Vampires can hide among these bats. The safest option is to keep driving. Although they'll probably meet vampires, they have a chance to survive if they drive faster. They drove really fast and managed to reach the city by the morning. But when they got out of the car, they discovered they were surrounded by vampires. To escape, they need to choose one of 3 roads. On the first road, there's a pack of vampires. They're coming straight at the guys. There are wild hogs on the second road. The third road leads through a dark alley with hundreds of bats. Which of these 3 ways is the safest? The second way is the best option because the sun illuminates it, so vampires can't follow Nikki and her new friends. Plus, these dogs don't look too unfriendly. The guys reach 3 stores. Now they need to decide which of the stores is safe to enter. Nikki, Peter, and Becky look through the windows to see what's inside. The first store is empty, but it seems to be full of traps. The second store is full of survivors, but they look dangerous. And the third store seems empty as well, but it's completely dark there, and you can't see anything except for dozens of bats. Where should Nikki lead her friends? The first store is the safest. If Nikki, Peter, and Becky notice these traps, then the chances are high they'll be able to avoid them. It's worth a try. There's a man in the city who's trying to survive by hiding among vampires. Nikki spent a week photographing vampires to figure out who he was. Will you be able to see who is actually human in these photos? You can see this man has all 4 photos. In one of the photos, he's eating garlic bread, and in this one, his leg is exposed to the sun. He's only pretending to be a vampire. Nikki and the others decided to invite this man to join their group. The man was delighted and said that his name was Douglas. He was a journalist looking for safe places for people. He suggested creating a password that only humans could figure out. They came up with this one: HAWUH. Can you guess why? If you look at the reflection of this word in the mirror, you will see Huwan, or Huwan. Flip the letter W and you get the word human. But only those who get reflected in the mirror will be able to solve this puzzle. Nikki and her friends settle down in this town. Can you guess which of these houses belongs to Nikki, in which Peter and Becky live, and in which Douglas has chosen? House number 1 belongs to Peter and Becky. There are 2 bicycles next to it. House number 2 belongs to the journalist. Do you see his equipment? And the remaining house, house number 3, belongs to Nikki.
The town's modern art museum has just been robbed. A priceless painting from top-notch artist Floyd B. has gone missing overnight. The museum's manager called Detective Pressfield to help. As soon as he arrived at the museum, he asked to see the security footage of the previous night. He identified 3 suspicious individuals staring at the painting for longer than usual. The first person, wearing a blue jacket, entered through the museum's front entrance. The security camera caught her staring at the painting from several angles, like she was measuring it. The second person, wearing a red hat, left the museum through the side exit, which is pretty suspicious. And the last person, who was wearing a black face mask, spent a long time looking at the museum's ceiling, trying to identify where the security cameras were located. Take a look at the footage. Can you guess who's the most likely thief? It's the last person. I mean, he was wearing a mask and spent hours trying to identify the security cameras. After that, there was no footage anymore. So that probably means he was successful at leaving the museum with the priceless painting. Samantha and Joanna were stuck at Blue Ridge's airport security line. A security guard found both of them suspicious and asked them to wait while he analyzed the X-ray footage. Take a look at both women. Who do you think is really hiding something? Well, Samantha has a suspicious face, but she probably just wants to go to the bathroom or something. Now, Joanna is definitely hiding something under her skirt. If she had really been pregnant, she would have used the preferential line. And look how much she's sweating. She's probably nervous she'll get caught. Detective Sharon's office was called to investigate a series of mysterious break-ins happening in a fancy neighborhood. At each crime scene, the robber would leave the word "closer" sprayed in graffiti on a nearby wall. The first place to be robbed was Mrs. Moore's cafe. Then the criminal's next target was the town's library. After a week, the thief had left his mark in a fancy office building, a supermarket, and a restaurant. It took Detective Sharon a while, but she soon understood there was a pattern to the break-ins. And she was even able to predict what the next break-in would be. Can you figure out what it was? The thief was pretty clever for sure. The first letter of each of the locations the thief entered spelled out the word "closer." Since the last location to be robbed was a restaurant, the next place would start with C, restarting the cycle. Most likely, the neighborhood's community center. In the East Valley, there's a beautiful old kingdom known as Piatra. One of the town's most precious symbols is a valuable jewel that is always displayed during the city's festivities. This year, during the last celebration, something tragic happened. The town's jewel went missing. The king was devastated and mad that such an ancient artifact had been stolen. He soon called the kingdom's official investigator to help figure out who had possibly stolen the jewel. The culprit would have to be proclaimed responsible for their theft in front of the entire kingdom. There were many people at the festivity, but the investigator narrowed the suspects down to 4 people. Amelia said she saw something strange after the bard's presentation. She saw that Benjamin had picked up the jewel and handed it to Carol. But Ben said he didn't go anywhere near the jewel because he had been working on one of the stalls during the fair. Carol said she did go near the jewel, but she had only admired it from up close. And Daniel said that he could swear seeing Carol carrying the jewel, but he didn't see her take it. Based on the testimonies, the investigator had no trouble figuring out who the culprit was. Can you figure it out as well? It was Carol. Almost everyone thought she was involved in the crime. And plus, if you zoom in on her bag, you'll see something pointing. Sure looks like a jewel, doesn't it? The town's only DVD rental shop suffered a robbery last night. The store's owner called the police station to report the crime. The detective almost couldn't believe what he was hearing. After all, why would someone steal a DVD when there are so many streaming channels nowadays? The detective asked to see the footage from the security camera and identified 3 main suspects. Sarah was a middle-aged woman. She said she still owned a DVD player and preferred to watch movies the old way, so she regularly rented from the store. Alex was a recently retired movie director, and one of his favorite pastimes was going to the store. He said he hadn't noticed anything strange the day before, except for a random teenager that walked inside. David was in his teens, and he spent hours in the shop by himself. He said he was doing research for school, but swears he didn't take anything. Can you tell who did it? It was David. The security footage caught him in the R-rated section of the store. He must have stolen the DVD, thinking the store owner wouldn't sell it to him. There's an old museum that only displays ancient Egyptian artifacts. One day, Susan, an anthropology student, went to the museum in order to study some of the art on display. She went into a room full of things, such as necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. She photographed every detail she thought was important for her research, when something caught her eye. Take a look at the image. Can you figure out what it was? Look at those earrings. They look completely fake. Plus, they have a tiny price tag attached to them. The original earrings were definitely missing. Susan reported the crime to the museum's manager. The manager immediately informed the museum security and opened an investigation. Susan was on the initial suspect list, but after checking the museum's security footage, she was let go. Museum security identified 3 main suspects: one of the museum's guards, one of the students from the museum's archaeology school, and a visitor. The visitor said he had only popped in for a quick visit. He said he had seen the earrings, but they looked pretty original to him. The security guard said he hadn't seen anything strange going the last few days. Everything was as it should be. And the students said they had studied the earring in a class, but they never got the chance to see it before it was stolen. Soon enough, museum security found the culprit. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. When security went to investigate the suspects, they never mentioned that the original earring had been exchanged by fake ones. The fact that he knew there was an original version means that he was the one that swapped them. Yikes. Maya was working on her latest artwork, which was commissioned by a high-end gallery in town. Suddenly, all the lights in her studio went out, and since it was nighttime, she was left completely in the dark. She heard footsteps approaching the studio door, and the next thing she knew, she was feeling dizzy. Maya passed out and woke up in a tiny room that had nothing other than a metallic door. She tried to open the door, but it was locked. That's when she noticed that beside the door, there was a little device where a red sign appeared asking for a password. Below the device, there was a piece of paper with the following hint: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It took a while for her to understand what this meant. She read the note aloud several times before she finally figured out what the password was. Can you guess what password she typed into the device? Here's how it works. Maya had to type 1 time the number 2, 3 times the number 4, 5 times the number 6, and 7 times the number 8. Reading it aloud was the key to solve this problem. Whew.
Hey, here's another opportunity to train your brain and sharpen your logical thinking skills. Don't miss out on it.
Yeah.
Liam was a doctor from Chicago. Once, he asked his boss to let him attend a medical conference in Berlin. The boss let Liam go but asked him to send a photo report as soon as he got to Europe. The next day, the boss received a message from Liam that said, "Hello from Germany. That's me right now." A photo was attached to the message. After looking at it, the boss realized Liam had lied to him. How did he figure it out? In the photo, there's a clock on the wall that shows exactly the same time as the clock in the boss's office. If Liam was in Germany, the clock would show a different time because of the time difference. A bit of math for you. Can you figure out what comes next in this sequence of numbers? It's gonna be this long number. You see, each next number is a verbal representation of the number before it. This way, if we start with 1, the next number in the sequence will be 1, 1. And the next one is 2 1s. And then we've got 1, 2, 1, 1, and so on. Look at this picture attentively. The guy has sent a message to his girlfriend. He seems to be missing her very much, but is it true? Can you figure out if he might be cheating on her? Yes, unfortunately he is. Look at this napkin. There's a lipstick print on it. He must be with another girl. Once, a man came to a police station. He said he'd been robbed on his way to the bank. He was carrying a briefcase with a big sum of money when a man wearing a black mask and gloves attacked him. The robber snatched the briefcase and ran away. The police officer listened to the man and asked him about a fresh cut on his right cheek. The man replied that it was from a ring the criminal had been wearing. After these words, the policeman immediately knew the man was lying. How did he realize it? Are you as attentive as the police officer to figure it out? The man couldn't know about the ring on the robber's finger, since he claimed that the criminal had been wearing gloves. Turn me on my side, and I'm everything. Cut me in half, and I'm nothing. What am I? I'm the number 8. On my side, I look like an infinity symbol. And cut in half, I'm just 2 zeros. Look at these people very attentively. Your task is to find out which girl the man is interested in. Remember that the answer here lies in the details. And this puzzle can tell us how good you are at reading people. Our body language can tell other people a lot about us. The way you sit, stand, and even move your arms can give away what you're thinking about or how you feel. The girls in the picture have different postures and facial expressions. And once we look closely, we will understand that the man is clearly interested in the girl who is most interested in him. But which one is it? The second one from the left. Her feet are pointed towards the man, and we can say the same about his feet. While girls number 1 and 3 are looking at the man too. They aren't into him all that much. Their feet and body language give it away. A wealthy old man didn't have a will, so he ordered his sons to race their horses, and the one whose horse would be slower would receive his inheritance. The 2 sons realized that they would be unable to race since they would be both holding their horses back. So they went to a wise man and asked him what they should do. After listening to his advice, the brothers started racing at full speed. What did the wise man tell them? He recommended switching horses. Now, whoever wins the race will get the inheritance because they will technically own the losing, slower horse. 4 people came to a river with a narrow bridge that could only hold 2 people at a time. It was nighttime, and they had just one torch that had to be used when crossing the bridge. Person A needed 1 minute to cross the bridge, and person B could do it in 2 minutes. It took person C 5 minutes to get to the other side, and person D needed 8 minutes. If 2 people were crossing the bridge together, they had to move at the slower person's pace. Can all these people get across the bridge within 15 minutes or less? Yes, they can. Let's see how it can be done. First, person A and person B cross the bridge, and then person A brings the light back. It takes 3 minutes. Next, person C and person D cross the bridge, and person B brings the light back afterward. It takes another 10 minutes. And finally, person A and person B cross the bridge again. This takes another 2 minutes. In total, we've got 15 minutes. Recently, Mark had been feeling some discomfort in his knees, so he decided to go to the doctor. After examining the man, the specialist gave him a piece of paper, saying, "Here's the solution," and then he left the room. What was written in the note? What did the doctor mean? The treatment is a painless operation. The missing letters spell out pain. Thus, Mark should have a painless operation. Thomas was talking with his colleague and she asked him how many kids he had. He answered that he had 3 children, and she asked him about their ages. Thomas replied, "The product of their ages is 72, and the sum of their ages is the same as my house number." His colleague was confused. The next time she was invited to Thomas's house, she paid attention to his house number, and still, she couldn't figure out the kids' ages. Tom decided to help her. "Oh, that's right, I forgot to tell you the oldest one likes chocolate pudding." And after that, his colleague figured out the ages of the 3 children. Have you understood how old they are? The kids are 3, 3, and 8. The key to this riddle is the colleague knows the sum of the children's ages, but she still can't tell how old Thomas's children are because she is stuck between several possibilities. To narrow it down further, only 2 sets of numbers that multiply to 72 share the same sum. And that's when the man reveals that his oldest child likes chocolate pudding. Only the latter of these 2 sets has a distinct oldest child. Imagine that you're in a dark room. There's a candle, a wood stove, and a gas lamp there. You only have 1 match. What do you light first? First of all, you'll need to light the match. These 5 bags of gold all look identical. Each of them has 10 gold pieces in it, but one of the bags contains fake gold. The real gold and fake gold are identical in every way, except the weight. Each piece of fake gold weighs 1.1 ounce, while a piece of real gold weighs 1 ounce. You have a perfectly accurate digital scale, but you can use it only once. How can you determine which bag has the fake gold? You should take 1 gold piece from the first bag, 2 from the second bag, 3 from the third bag, 4 from the fourth bag, and 5 from the fifth bag. If the number on the scale ends in 0.1, you'll know the first bag contains the fake gold. If the number ends in 0.2, then the fake gold is in the second bag, and so on. Just look at this! A car has crashed into a restaurant window, smashing it. Detective Harris has come to investigate the case. There are 2 suspects, Julie and Douglas. But each of them claims that the other person did it. Can you help the detective figure out who is lying? It's Julie. The tire tracks on the ground belong to her car. Adam was driving home late at night when he noticed he was about to run out of gas. He stopped at a gas station to fill his tank and buy some snacks. Inside, there was a cashier and another customer dressed in black. When Adam came up to the employee to pay, she told him $5.05. Adam paid, went outside, and called the police to report an emergency. Why did he do it? The cash register showed $18.35, but the cashier said $5.05, which looks like SOS. Detective Harris was walking along the street when he heard some noise. He decided to check out what had happened. It turned out that some man had grabbed an elderly lady's bag and run away. The detective ran in the direction the witnesses showed him. After he turned the corner, he saw 3 doors. He knocked on the first one. The apartment owner, Patrick, opened the door. The man told the detective he'd just returned from a long run. Another man, Jerry, opened the second door. He said he'd been playing basketball behind his house. The third apartment belonged to Raymond, a musician. He had just finished composing a new piece of music. After talking to all these people, Detective Harris understood who the criminal was. Have you figured it out? The thief is Jerry. He claimed he'd been playing basketball, but he was holding a football while talking to the detective. Sarah and her sister Mary were doing some shopping. When they were leaving a grocery store, Sarah pointed at some young man and exclaimed, "Look, my nephew is over there!" Her sister replied, "Oh right, but it's not my nephew." How is it possible? The young man is Mary's son. Gemma returned from Asia and brought a precious porcelain figurine. She organized a party and invited all her friends to tell them about her journey. They had a great time, but after her friends left, the woman realized the figurine had disappeared. She called the police and showed them the photo she had taken at the party. One of the officers immediately realized who had stolen the figurine. Did you understand it too? It was this girl. She hid the figurine under her hat. At 9 a.m., Ethan got a call from his friend, an owner of a large business. The man said that a very important document had disappeared from his office. It had been on his desk the evening before, but now it was nowhere to be found. Ethan immediately came there to question his friend's employees. Soon, he had 3 suspects. Walter said he'd spent the previous evening at the movies. Joan had dinner with her friends, and Zachary visited an art gallery. It didn't take Ethan long to understand who was lying. Do you know it too? It was Walter. His ticket isn't torn. It means he didn't enter the movie theater. Now, look at these hands and try to figure out which person is married. If you look at the first hand attentively, you'll realize it doesn't belong to a grown-up person. On the second hand, there is a mark left by a ring, but there's no ring itself. It must mean that the person is no longer married. On the third hand, there's no ring either, but it's the right hand, and we wear wedding rings on the left hand. So out of these 3, this person is most likely to be married. Okay, the next challenge is for you. Look at these 3 men. They're at the airport. Which of these guys is married? All of these men are holding their passports and tickets in their hands. None of them is wearing a wedding ring. But pay attention to the man sitting on the bench. On his ticket, it's written, "Family discount." So, he must be the one who's married. Now look at this picture attentively. Does anything strike you as strange? It's winter, but butterflies are flying around the snowman. Now, try to figure out what's wrong with this image. It's the snowman again. Instead of a carrot, his nose is made of broccoli. And the last image for you to analyze. Why does the guy on the right need ski poles if he's going to snowboard? Marcus woke up in a dark basement with just one candle burning on the table. He saw 3 doors in one of the walls and 3 keys lying on the table. How many attempts will the guy need to figure out the key for each door? He'll need 6 attempts at the most, 3 of them for the first key, 2 attempts for the second key and 2 remaining doors, and just 1 attempt for the last key. But if Marcus is extremely lucky, he might need just 3 attempts. Alicia's mom asked the girl to do some grocery shopping. She gave her a shopping list and her bank card. but the woman knew her daughter was very absent-minded. That's why she gave Alicia a small note in case she forgot the card's PIN number. When the girl was at the register, she realized she had indeed forgotten the PIN. Alicia pulled the note out of her pocket and immediately remembered the code. Can you figure out what it was if the note had a fly, a cat, a person, and a snake drawn on it? The PIN was 6420. Alicia just had to count the number of legs of each creature. A fancy restaurant in Los Angeles was offering a promotional deal. A married couple could eat at the restaurant for half price on their anniversary. To prevent scams, the couple would need proof of their wedding date. On a Thursday evening, a couple entered the restaurant and claimed it was their anniversary, but they didn't have any proof. The restaurant manager was called to speak with the couple. When the manager asked to hear about their wedding day, the wife said, "Oh, it was a wonderful Sunday afternoon. Birds were chirping and flowers were in full bloom." After nearly 10 minutes of ranting, she told the manager that today was their 28th wedding anniversary.
How lovely, the manager said. However, you do not qualify for the discount. Today is not your anniversary. You are a liar.
How did the manager know it wasn't their anniversary? The calendar repeats itself every 28 years, so if they were married on a Sunday 28 years ago, the day they came to the restaurant would also have to be a Sunday. But since it was a Thursday, the manager knew they were lying. John called the police to report that his friend Mark had disappeared. He explained that 2 weeks earlier, he had offered Mark to live in his beach house in Miami. He wanted his friend to enjoy some summer heat. But when John returned from a half-month-long business trip to Chile, he found out that Mark was missing. The police listened to John's story and understood the man was lying. How did they figure it out? If it was summer in Miami, it was winter in Chile. And still, John came back suntanned. It means he hadn't been to Chile. Maya was in the gym doing the workout her personal trainer had prepared for her. It was tougher and longer than her usual ones. Exhausted, Maya returned to the changing room only to find her expensive bag gone.
Oh no!
She immediately called the police. They had 3 suspects. Maya's trainer said that he had been preparing a new program for his clients. Emma, another gym goer, said she had been running on a treadmill for 2 hours. The cleaner said he had been washing the swimming pool. Who took Maya's bag? It was her trainer. He knew Maya was going to have a long workout and wouldn't return to the changing room anytime soon.
Becky attended her high school reunion last weekend.
Hello!
All of her friends seemed to be doing really well in life. Connor showed up wearing clothes from expensive brands.
Hello!
Matilda had not just 1 but 2 of the latest smartphones.
Oh!
Tom showed up in a fancy sports car, and Beth was wearing a luxurious watch on her wrist. Take a good look at Becky's friends. Can you tell who is really rich? Well, let's see. If you look closely, Connor didn't take off the tags from his clothes. This probably means that he's planning on returning them after the reunion.
Yeah.
Matilda's phones are fake. Look at the label. It's just a copy of the original brand.
Ah!
And Beth's watch is way bigger than her wrist, which means that the watch is not really hers. So, Tom is probably the richest person at the reunion.
Oh, yeah.
Amy's favorite band is in town, and she really wants to go to their concert. She asks her stepmother if she can go, but she says she will only allow Amy to go if she does a series of things for her.
Oh!
The first thing the stepmother asks is for Amy to bring her some water in a colander. To get this right, Amy needs to think outside the box.
Okay.
Can you help Amy figure out how she can do that? Amy needs to freeze some water and put the cubes in the colander.
Yeah.
Technically, frozen water is still water, right? Next, her stepmother asks Amy to pick out the perfect evening dress for her. Amy walks into her stepmother's closet, and there are 3 dresses, a red, a green, and a blue. Take a look at the picture. Which dress should Amy choose? If you look closely, the button on the blue dress is about to come off. The green dress has a big paint stain on it, so Amy should pick the red dress.
Yes!
Before Amy can take the dress to her stepmother, the woman enters the room. She sees the stain on the dress and starts to shout at Amy, "How could you do this to my dress?" But Amy says she didn't do anything wrong, and that the paint was already there when she walked into the closet.
Yes!
The stepmother asks Amy to find the culprit.
Oh,
If she could figure out who had stained her dress, then Amy could go to the concert.
okay.
The 3 main suspects are Amy's stepsisters, Ella, Bella, and Gabriella.
What?
They don't like Amy, so it's likely that one of them splashed paint on their mother's dress in order to frame her. When the stepsisters are out of the house, Amy sneaks into their bedroom to try to find the culprit. Take a look at the room. The first bed belongs to Ella, the second belongs to Bella, and the third bed belongs to Gabriella. Can you tell who did it? It was Gabriella. Her bed is the third one on the left. And if you look closely, it has a bucket of paint under it. Emily and Barbara are getting ready for a girls' night out.
Yes!
They are putting on makeup and getting their hair done. They have pretty similar tastes, and their things look pretty much the same. But one of them has more money than the other.
Oh,
Looking at the image, can you tell which one has the more expensive stuff? Take a look at Barbara. Her dress kind of gives it away since it's obviously a knockoff. So Emily is the one with the more expensive stuff. Harry decided to backpack around the world on his own.
yeah!
On the plane, he sat next to a girl. He asked her where she was from.
Yes.
But instead of answering, she showed him 2 emojis on her cell phone.
Oh,
Take a look at the image. Can you tell which country the girl is from? Let's see. That's an iron and a piece of land. I guess she's from Ireland? As soon as Harry landed in Paris, he went strolling along the streets to find a place to stay. He found a cute little hotel and decided to go inside. Big mistake. Why? Take a look at the window on the last floor. It looks like there's a ghost. Yikes. I'd look for another place to stay if I were him. After he found a better hotel to stay in, he decided to get lunch. He ordered the classic French onion soup.
yeah!
But when his dish came, it was filled with cockroaches. He called the restaurant's manager to tell them about the incident. The manager said, "This is unacceptable. I will find the person who did this and fire them immediately." There were 3 suspects. The cook said that he had prepared the soup as usual. It was okay when he passed it to the waiter. The waiter said that he hadn't touched the soup. He just served it to Harry and hurried to take the order from another table. The manager also questioned the cleaner, who said that he had spent the last hours cleaning the bathroom and had no idea what the fuss was about. Can you tell who is guilty? No one. Look at the ventilation system. It's full of roaches. They must have crawled out of it and fallen into Harry's soup. Yikes. There are 3 passengers in the business class of an international flight that is headed towards Rome. Take a look at these 3 people. The first lady looks pretty well dressed. She's wearing a luxurious designer handbag and is texting on her expensive phone.
Hello.
The guy in the middle is working with stock charts on his laptop, and the third guy is enjoying a cup of coffee while reading an article in the Financial Times. Can you tell which one is the real billionaire? Let's see. The woman may look well dressed, but if you see the tag on her clothes, it says 100% polyester. It's unlikely that a billionaire would wear something like this. The guy working with stock charts is wearing old, ripped shoes. I doubt that's a fashion choice, so he's probably not a billionaire. Oh. That leaves us the last guy. If you look closely, the article he is reading is about him. The title of the article is The World's Newest Billionaire. Oh, yeah. I guess we found our guy, huh? Detective Smith was called to investigate a burglary at the city's museum. Oh. A priceless diamond disappeared, and the thief left no trace behind. After analyzing the museum's security cameras, Detective Smith gathered 3 suspects: the security guard, the museum's curator, and a visitor. The security guard said he only left his post during lunchtime, and he could swear that the diamond still wasn't missing at that time. The museum curator spent the day guiding a tour of the museum for a foreign group. They came to see the diamond at the beginning of the tour, and it was still shining bright in its place. The visitor said he only popped in for a quick visit and didn't even pass through the Metzi aisle where the diamond was kept. After these 3 interviews, Detective Smith found the thief. Can you tell who it was? It was the visitor. First of all, he knew the exact location of the diamond inside the museum. Plus, take a look at that string he's fiddling with in his left hand. Detective Smith pulled it from under his sleeve and voila, the diamond was attached to it. I guess he didn't have time to go home and get rid of the diamond, huh? Julie and her friends decided to spend the weekend at a cabin in the woods. They arrived on Friday evening and spent the night playing board games and telling spooky stories. When they woke up on Saturday morning, they found that someone had stolen all their food supply. The door's glass was shattered, but other than that, there were no signs of who could have done it. So the group decided to search the surrounding woods to see if they could find the culprit. Take a good look at the scene the group stumbled upon and see if you can find out who took their food. What's that at the left corner? Those look like bear footprints, huh? And not just one, but rather an entire family of bears. Oh, and they even left an Oreo wrapper on the ground as evidence. Yep, these grizzlies were the culprits for sure. Atlas woke up in the attic of an abandoned house. He tried to find a way out of the house, but all he could find was a room with 3 doors. Each door hid a different danger. The windows and floor behind the first door were made entirely of magnifying glass, which meant that the sunlight would probably burn him if he entered. The second door hid a room full of poisonous gas, and behind the third door was a hungry lion. What should Atlas do to escape? He should wait until it's nighttime and use the first door. Sydney told her mom that her gymnastics team would go to a sports camp for the weekend. She asked her mom to help her pack a bag for the trip. Her mother packed everything she thought her daughter would need. When Sydney came back from the weekend, she was telling her mother all about the trip. But somewhere during the conversation, she asked her mother why she hadn't packed a toothbrush. The mother immediately knew Sydney was lying about where she had really been that weekend. How? Because Sydney's mother did pack a toothbrush, but she put it under Sydney's gymnastics clothes. If Sydney had really gone camping, she would have used the clothes and found the toothbrush. Kimberly discovered 3 bags in an old attic along with a note. The note said that there were $1 million inside one of the bags. It also said that the 2 other bags were empty. She only had one chance to figure out which bag had the cash, and she could trust that one of the messages written on the bags was true. On the first bag, it said, "The cash is not here." On the second bag, it was written, "The cash is not here." The last bag read, "The cash is in the second bag." If you were Kimberly, which bag would you choose? You should choose the first bag. If only one of the clues is true, then the money is in the first bag. The police have been after Mr. Burke for many years, trying to prove he's involved in illicit activities, but they never managed to catch him. One day, Detective Lawrence decided to make a surprise visit to Mr. Burke's office. As soon as the detective arrived, Mr. Burke's secretary said he was away on a business trip. The detective asked to see Mr. Burke's office and took a picture of it, but he wasn't allowed to touch anything without a warrant. So, Detective Lawrence went back to the station and got a warrant. When he returned to Mr. Burke's office, he noticed someone had been in there. Take a look at both pictures and try to find out what Detective Lawrence saw. The desk lamp is tilted and the books are in different places. Someone definitely was in that room. Detective Lawrence decided to search Mr. Burke's entire office. In one room, he found there were footprints up until the middle of the room, and then they disappeared. The only window of the room was open. "Oh no!" Detective Lawrence shouted. "I can't believe he escaped again." He took a picture of the room and took it to the police station. At the station, he showed the picture to the other detectives, and one of them said he had cracked the case. Take a look at the picture. How did the detective solve the case? The detective understood that Mr. Burke was a shapeshifter. This explains why the footprints didn't reach the window. Plus, look at all the bird food on the floor. He probably shapeshifted into a bird and escaped.
I know something that will wake your brain up better and faster than coffee. Yep, it's time to find your magnifying glass.
Oh my god.
Look at this picture attentively. What's wrong here? Each of these 4 people has a slice of pizza in their hands, but only 3 pieces are missing from the pizza box. You have 3 jars that are all mislabeled. One jar contains apples, another contains oranges, and the third jar contains a mixture of both apples and oranges. You are allowed to pick as many fruits as you want from each jar to fix the labels on them. What is the minimum number of fruits that you have to pick and from which jars to correctly label them?
Yeah.
Let's look at this scenario. You pick a fruit from the jar labeled apples and oranges, and you get an apple. That means that the jar should be labeled apples. Now, the jar labeled oranges has to be labeled apples and oranges. As it can't contain oranges, and we've already got the apples jar. A similar scenario applies if it's an orange you take out of the jar labeled apples and oranges. So, you just need to take one fruit from the jar, apples and oranges, to label all the jars correctly. A farmer once challenged an engineer, a physicist, and a mathematician to fence off the largest amount of area using the least amount of fence. The engineer shaped his fence like a large circle and said it was the most efficient way. The physicist made a long line and said that fencing off half of Earth was the best. The mathematician laughed at them and showed his design, which beat the others. What did he do? The mathematician made a small circular fence around himself and declared himself to be on the outside. Every day after work, Jack arrived at the train station at 5 p.m. His wife left home in her car to meet him there at exactly 5 p.m., picked him up, and drove him home. One day, Jack got to the station an hour early and started walking home. He was walking until his wife picked him up along the way. They got home 30 minutes earlier than usual. How long was he walking? The best way to think about this problem is to consider it from the perspective of the wife. Her round trip was decreased by 30 minutes, which means each leg of her trip was decreased by 15 minutes. It means that Jack must have been walking for 45 minutes. Logan is a special agent who's trying to catch a notorious villain. After long months of investigation, he finds the criminal's headquarters. But the door is locked, which is not a surprise really. Logan sees a screen next to the entrance. He touches it, and the display lights up. It must be a riddle. And our special agent needs to solve it to get inside. Add one line to make it right. 9.50 equals I-O-I-O-I-O. Logan cracks the puzzle in no time. What's the answer? 9.50 equals IOTOIO. The door opens and the man steps into a dark corridor. After walking for some time, Logan notices another door. A code lock again! The man also spots a calendar hanging on the wall. At the bottom, there are several letters, M, F, W. After connecting the dots, the special agent figures out the code. What is it? It's 153. The letters stand for the days of the week: Monday, Friday, and Wednesday. Monday is the first day, Friday is the fifth, and Wednesday is the third one. Oh yeah. Look at these two families. Which one is fake? What do you think? Well, the family on the right has weird dietary habits. They allow their son to eat the whole cake on his own. But maybe they just don't care about healthy eating. The family on the left, though, seems to be perfectly fine. But have you spotted a USB port covered by the necklace the mother of the family is wearing? She's a robot, and all this family thing is just a joke. Now, look at these prisoners. Who is more likely to escape? Huh, gotcha. Neither of them. The one on the right will be stopped by the prison guard, while the one on the left will end up face to face with these pretty unfriendly dogs. How about these girls? Which one lacks common sense? That was another tricky question. Both of them aren't the brightest bulbs in the chandelier. The one on the left is going to post a photo of her credit card on her social media. And the one on the right is going to share the details of her ID and plane ticket with her followers. That's incredibly unsafe.
Oh my God!
It was the first day of school when the principal's wallet went missing. There were 3 suspects: the gardener, the math teacher, and the coach.
Oh no!
Here's what they said. The gardener was mowing the front lawn. The math teacher was checking the surprise test he'd given his students. And the coach was meeting new people who wanted to join the school's soccer team. Who took the wallet? It was the math teacher. No one gives surprise tests on the first day of school. Look at these women. Can you figure out which one isn't pregnant? It's the woman on the right. Her belly is strangely shaped, and something seems to be moving under her clothes. Ugh, creepy. One day, the emperor asked his general what he should choose if he was offered either justice or a lot of gold. "I'd choose the gold," the general answered without hesitation. The emperor was taken aback.
Oh.
"I would have been disappointed even if this was the choice of a servant," the emperor said. "But coming from you, it's not only disappointing but also shocking and sad." But the general justified his answer to the enraged and hurt emperor without a problem. What did he say? He said that people asked for what they didn't have. "Under your majesty's rule," he then added, "justice is available to everybody. But I am a spendthrift and always short of money. That's why I said I would choose the gold." The answer pleased the emperor, and his respect for the general was restored. The police arrived at a ski resort early in the morning. At night, someone attacked the manager of the hotel, and he was taken to a hospital, still unconscious. The police suspected 3 people, Laura, James, and Arthur, who had arrived the day before. The officers inspected their rooms, and here's what they found. Look at these things attentively and try to understand who attacked the manager. It was Arthur. Look, he doesn't have any warm clothing, which means he didn't come for skiing.
Oh no!
Allison is a big boss in an international company. One day, she's hurrying to an important meeting when she notices the documents she needs haven't been printed out, but she's asked at least 3 of her subordinates to do it. Ian says he's just returned from the supermarket because they've run out of coffee beans. Robert claims he's been terribly busy drafting a new contract. And Alice answers she's been in the kitchen preparing snacks and making coffee for the meeting. Who's actually forgotten about the task and is making up excuses at the last moment? It's Alice. There's no coffee in the office. Then how could she make it? Rich businessman Mr. Hudson had a serious disease and was staying at the best hospital in the city. He was treated with pills invented by a scientist working in that hospital. Mr. Hudson was feeling better and better and was getting ready to be discharged. But then, one morning, he was found in critical condition. The police had 4 suspects: the cleaner, the businessman's nurse, his assistant, and the scientist. The cleaner said that Mr. Hudson liked when his room was tidy, so she came every day to clean it. The nurse said that she gave Mr. Hudson's injections every morning, and they had even become friends. The scientist was very upset.
His disease was complicated, but we've made such progress. And today, this happened.
And the assistant answered that her boss asked her to bring his favorite sweets every day. And she did just that. Can you figure out who caused the worsening of Mr. Hudson's condition? It was the nurse. Mr. Hudson was treated with special pills. What injections is she talking about?
What?
Harrison was walking home when someone threw something at him and knocked the guy out. When he came round, he found himself in a room with 4 doors and a tiny window. Harrison opened the window, but it was too small for him to squeeze through. Suddenly, the guy spotted a piece of paper lying on the floor. It was a note that said, "Only one door leads outside. The other 3 doors don't lead anywhere. You can try to open just one door and only once. If you don't succeed, all of them will be locked forever." Harrison thought for a while and made the right choice. How did he figure out which door was the one he needed? He opened the window. This created a draft. The guy checked the keyholes and felt some cool air coming from one of them. It was the door to freedom. Detective Sheldon Copper was resting at a beach resort when an unpleasant accident happened there. Someone pushed elderly Mrs. Stevenson into the swimming pool when there was no one around. But this someone didn't know the lady was once the best swimmer at her university and she never stopped practicing. So it wasn't difficult for her to cross the swimming pool and get out of it at the other side. Sheldon asked the lady if she had seen the attacker. She didn't, but she was sure it was someone who knew she'd just received a huge inheritance. The detective needed to talk to 3 people. They were Mrs. Stevenson's son, Terry, her granddaughter, Gloria, and her niece, Judy. Terry said, "These days, I've been very busy. Something urgent came up at work. I don't even have time to leave my room to go for breakfast or dinner." Gloria asked Sheldon to keep her secret. She was seeing a waiter she had met at a beach cafe. If her relatives found out, they would be furious. And Judy told Sheldon she'd taken a car to go shopping in the city center. Who's lying? Terry. The man looks sunburned. But how can it be if he hasn't left his room for days? Jaden bought a beautiful ring for his girlfriend. He wanted to propose to her at the weekend. He left the ring on his desk at home and went to work. But when he got back in the evening, he didn't find the ring. Only his 3 sisters were at home that day, and none of them liked his girlfriend. He went to question each of them. Mia was in her room. She said she'd spent the whole day there painting the walls. Emily was in the kitchen. She answered that she'd been cooking a birthday cake for her friend. And the youngest, Nora, was in the garden. She said she'd been planting roses. It didn't take Jaden long to figure out who had taken the ring. Do you know who it was? It was Nora. She looks too tidy for a person who was supposedly spending the entire day in the garden.
What?
Plus, she doesn't have any gardening tools. The best player of Julian's volleyball team disappeared right before the game. Julian's main suspects were 3 players from the rival team. Jackson said, "I've just returned from the gym. I was warming up before the competition." Leo had to pick up his wife and daughter from the hospital, and Ryan claimed he'd fractured his leg, and the team doctor was giving him a massage.
Yeah.
Who's behind the player's disappearance? It's Ryan. Getting a massage when your leg is broken? Really? Can you figure out the answer to this rebus riddle? The answer is summary.
Jill and Jim live in the US. One day, Jim goes on a business trip to Europe. Jill misses him very much, so she calls him up. She asks Jim to take a selfie and send it to her. He agrees. Jill gets furious as soon as she sees the picture. Jill: "You're a liar." How did Jill figure it out? Europe and the US are in different time zones, but in Jim's photo, it's noon. That's American time. He never left the country. Can you find a zombie in this picture? Over here. What about this ski resort? Can you spot any zombies? Hello? And now let's see if you can find a zombie in this amusement park. It's hiding over here. The biggest bank in town was robbed last night. The local police investigate this case and find 2 suspects. They go to search their houses. The officer sees a clue and figures out who the criminal is. How did he guess? Let's take a look at the walls. There's the same picture in both houses, but this one is hanging upside down. There's probably a stash behind it. Busted. A teacher has 21 colored pencils. 7 red, 7 yellow, and 7 blue. She needs to divide them into 2 piles so that one pile would have 3 times fewer red pencils than the second one. And the second pile should have 2 times fewer yellow pencils compared to the first pile. How many blue pens would be in each pile? Zero. The teacher had 21 pencils, not pens. Can you rearrange these crayons and make 4 triangles? To solve this mystery, you gotta think outside the box. Here's the correct answer. Let's make the task a little harder. Can you remove just 2 crayons to make 2 squares? Ready to see the result? There you go. Donna goes to a supermarket and spots something weird. 2 of these women are pregnant, but one of them just stole a watermelon. Can you guess who? It's the third lady. She's wearing high heels, not what pregnant women would wear to a grocery store. Kitty wakes up in a creepy basement. She needs to open this door to escape. Can you guess the right order to press the buttons? Kitty needs to make the word unlock from the first letters of each emoji. Therefore, she should press the buttons in the following order: unicorn, nose, lobster, onion, cactus, kiss, and voila. Today is Cassie's birthday. She brings a cake to work to celebrate with her colleagues, Stan, Gemma, and Rosie. Cassie unpacks the cake in the office kitchen. Suddenly, Granny calls, and Cassie goes outside to talk to her. After a while, Cassie returns and finds her precious birthday cake on the floor. She questions everyone. Stan says, "I was sending an important email, so I didn't look at the kitchen. But I think it was Gemma. She's just pretending to be your friend." Gemma says, "I went to the toilet to wash my hands. When I returned, the cake was already on the floor." And Rosie says, "I don't know what happened. I went to the opposite side of the room to turn on the coffee machine. I made cappuccino for everyone." Who's lying? The coffee machine is off, and all the coffee mugs are empty. Therefore, Rosie lied. She was busy doing something else while Cassie was away. Detective Bold is having lunch at his favorite cafe. He looks through the window and sees his neighbor Zelda rushing home. They both live next to the cafe. Suddenly, Zelda runs back and approaches the detective. Zelda, "Please help me. My apartment was robbed while I was out. I didn't touch anything. I just ran here right away to find you." Detective Bold goes to see the crime scene. He looks around and says, "Stop fooling around, Zelda. There was no robbery." How did he know? Take a look at this umbrella. Zelda carried it with her when she was rushing home, but she told the detective that she didn't touch anything at the crime scene. She just threw her stuff around the room to make it look like a robbery. Take a look at this fancy group of people. One of them is a real vampire. Can you guess who? It's the second guy. The first guy struggles with drinking this reddish beverage. The lady is just wearing a cosplay costume. And the guy on the right is taking a selfie, which means he shows up on camera. Therefore, he's a human being. Jeff calls the police early in the morning. Jeff, "My neighbor cut down a tree on my car." A policeman arrives soon. Policeman, "What happened?" Jeff, "My neighbor and I had a quarrel last night. When I was ready to go to bed, I saw him standing in front of my car. In the morning, I went out to drive to work and saw this. My car is pretty old, but he still has to pay compensation for the damage." The policeman questions Jeff's neighbor. He says, "Jeff is a bit weird. He's always trying to start a quarrel for no reason. I didn't touch the car. I was sleeping all night long." The policeman examines the car and immediately realizes which of the neighbors was lying. Who cut the tree down? Can you guess? Jeff. He cut down the tree with this axe and then tried to put the blame on his neighbor to hit him up for money. Mike is an astronaut. His team consists of 2 other people. They're twins, Rob and Bob. They go to Mars for a month to study the local life forms. Time flies by quickly, and today they have to return to Earth. Mike goes to say hi to his little crew, but he finds 6 identical people in the spaceship. Mike realizes that the Martians can take any shape. Whom should he take back to Earth? This astronaut has 3 fingers. This guy's hair color is different. This imposter has forgotten to put on human ears. And this guy has different eye color. So the real Bob and Rob are over here. What's wrong here? The goalkeeper is holding a tennis racket. Also, why do they need 2 hockey pucks? Shelley downloads a dating app hoping to find new love. She likes several guys. They begin to chat and share some selfies. All 3 guys claim to be single and living alone, but only one of them is telling the truth. Can you guess who? The first guy sent Shelley a selfie from his bathroom. He's wearing a bathrobe. But there's another silk bathrobe hanging in the background. It's pink and small. Why would he need it if he's living alone? And the second guy is obviously fond of jewelry. He's wearing a ring on each finger, including the ring finger. So he's probably married. Only the third guy is telling the truth. And Shelley should give him a chance. A dangerous criminal escapes from prison. The police are chasing him, and the trail leads them into a small village. They question the locals and check the fields. Soon they see a farmer in a cornfield. The detective asks him if he had seen any suspicious strangers around. Farmer: "Sorry, I didn't focus on what's going on around me. I was too busy dealing with my corn. It's getting dark soon, and I need to harvest as soon as possible." The detective immediately figures out that this guy is the wanted runaway criminal. How? Corn is not harvested like this, so he can't be a real farmer. Can you see any odd details here? The phone is unplugged, and the laptop is missing a keyboard. Can you spot anything odd? Take a look at this guy. His fishing style is pretty weird. What about this scene? What are they doing wrong? This lady is skating on the pavement.
Alfred wants to be a supermodel, so he visits a fancy audition in New York, hoping for the best. There's a line of his rivals standing in the lobby. One of them is not from this planet. Can you guess who? This guy with the snake eyes. Daisy, the photographer, invites Alfred to her studio to take some shots. After a couple of days, she receives printed pictures and freaks out. Why? Take a look at Alfred's body in this picture. Both of his feet are right. Amazingly, Alfred gets his dream job. A famous magazine invited him to shoot their cover. He arrives at the studio early to get ready. Before the start of the photo shoot, Alfred looks in the mirror. Gross! There's an allergic rash all over his face. Alfred interrogates 3 suspects. The assistant says, "I was told you're allergic to peanuts and berries, so we've prepared only safe snacks." The makeup artist says, "I didn't touch your food. I put on your makeup and left for a coffee break." And the cleaning lady says, "I know how sensitive models are. That's why I only use organic, hypoallergenic cleaning products." Can you guess who's guilty of Alfred's allergy? The makeup artist. Even though she didn't have access to his food, she was the only one who had access to his face, and she could put toxins in his makeup. Alfred gets hired as a model for a clothing catalog. He's asked to put on these trendy jeans. Can you count the exact number of holes in this piece of clothing? These 2 holes go through the pant legs, so in fact, these are 4 holes, not 2. As for this hole, it's only on the front of the leg, plus 1 hole. But that's not all. These jeans also have 3 more holes, 2 on the bottom of the pant legs and 1 on the belt. So the correct answer is 8. Alfred stayed late in the studio to write a post, and now he's finally going home. He walks along the dark hall of the office building. Suddenly, Alfred hears someone screaming for help. The voice comes from the broom locker. He opens the door. "Daisy, who closed you here?" Daisy replies, I have no idea. I went to the 8th floor to eat in a Chinese restaurant, but it was closed for maintenance all day. So I decided to go home. Then, someone put a garbage bag on my head and locked me in here. In the morning, Alfred interrogates 5 suspects. The cleaner says, I was washing the windows on the 8th floor. The makeup artist says, I was cleaning my brushes in the bathroom. The assistant says, I was helping the makeup artist, but I went home earlier. The stylist says, I had dinner in the local Chinese restaurant and then went to a concert. And the cameraman says, I was sick yesterday, so I went home early. Who locked up Daisy? The stylist. The Chinese restaurant was closed yesterday. The 6 friends get trapped inside the cave. Unfortunately, they had left all the food in the camp. That's why they're starving while waiting for the rescue group to arrive. Suddenly, Alfred finds 5 cookies in his pocket. Can you find the easiest way to divide these 5 cookies among 6 people equally? They should split the first 3 cookies in half and divide the remaining 2 cookies into 3 parts. This way, each person will get 1/2 and 1/3 of a cookie. Alfred returns from his vacation and checks his email. He sees 3 new job offers. Francis invites Alfred to participate in New York Fashion Week. Julia offers good money for a shampoo commercial. And Crystal offers him to be the face of a famous clothing brand. One of these employers is a scammer. Can you guess who? Crystal. The spelling of the brand Gucci is wrong. Alfred arrives at the shampoo commercial filming spot. He enters the dressing room and sees his actress partner, Amber. She has a short, messy haircut. Amber yells, I took a 30-minute nap and someone has cut my beautiful long hair. Alfred asks 3 suspects one question. What were you doing the last 30 minutes? The makeup artist says, I was streaming a backstage video for my followers. The guard replies, my coffee break started 30 minutes ago, so I went to the vending machine and bought hot chocolate. But then I received an assignment to catch a stranger with scissors. I kicked him out and returned to my workplace. And the stylist says, oh, I spent the last 20 minutes in the toilet. I shouldn't have eaten seafood for breakfast. Can you help Alfred spot the liar? It's the guard. He bought the hot chocolate 30 minutes ago, but why is it still hot? Alfred arrives at the Fashion Week. He's staying in a hotel with a roommate, Billy. Alfred takes a brief look at Billy's suitcase and spots 3 weird details right away. Can you see them too? Why does he need the shaving cream if he uses an electric razor? The book title is printed upside down, and there's no pair to this sock. Alfred goes to a fancy party full of celebrities. 4 guys want to impress him. They learn that Alfred was born in Australia, so they come up to him, tell their stories, and show some pictures. Jake says, I'm so excited to go on a road trip around Australia this summer. Peter says, I'm a travel blogger. Last summer in Arizona, I got some great kangaroo shots. Will says, I'm a super broke guy. I've only been to New Jersey so far. And Oliver says, I donate money for charity projects in Australia. Once, I saved a little koala. Who's lying? Peter. Kangaroos only live in Australia. Alfred leaves the party. But suddenly, he finds out that he had left his phone in the club. He returns and questions 3 people standing nearby. The waiter says, "I was busy with my orders, I didn't see anything." The cleaner says, "I think I saw your phone on the sofa. But when I looked there again, it was already gone." And the manager says, "There are no phones in our lost and found office." Who took Alfred's phone? The waiter. She has Alfred's phone case hidden in her boot. The next morning, Alfred enters the gym. He takes a look around and freaks out. Why? This lady is not from this planet. She has a completely transparent belly. Alfred is now wealthy enough to afford a new apartment. He locks all his documents and money in a safe that he found inside his bedroom, but now he can't open it. Alfred finds a list of codes nearby, but he doesn't know which one is correct. Can you help him figure out the code? These buttons are used a lot, but only the third combination includes all these numbers. Alfred goes to his granny and spends holidays in the country. There, he meets his school friend, Dan. They haven't been talking for years. Dan begins to boast. "I've become a famous blogger. My videos on YouTube get millions of views." Dan shows Alfred a video from his channel, but Alfred looks at the video and immediately realizes that Dan is lying. How? The gap between likes and views is too huge. It's impossible. Dan just took a screenshot and changed the numbers in Photoshop. Joshua and Jeremy were going on a hiking trip to Adventure Mountains. They were about to leave their room to catch their train, but there's something wrong here. Can you spot the oddity? Well, they're going hiking, but Joshua is wearing shiny business shoes. Those will be too slippery on the mountains. Once they arrived at the train station, Jeremy realized that he had forgotten the tickets. They went to the ticket sales booth to explain their situation. The salesman told them he might be able to give them new tickets, only if they could answer his riddle correctly. "I stand tall, yet I never walk. With rocky peaks, I love to talk. Above the clouds, my head does rise. What am I that touches the skies?" Can you figure out the answer? It's a mountain. During the train ride, Joshua and Jeremy were enjoying the beautiful scenery from the window. But then, suddenly, Jeremy screamed. Can you tell why? Take a look at the birds flying in the distance. Were you able to spot the small dragon flying with them? Well, Jeremy did. Joshua and Jeremy finally arrived at their destination. Before they started climbing up, they wanted to make sure their water bottles were full for the entirety of the hike. They saw 3 different drinking fountains from where they could fill their bottles. Take a look at them and tell me which ones they should pick. If you look closer at the first fountain, you can see a snake's tongue sticking out in the water flowing from the fountain tap. That's gross. And the second fountain's water has a slightly yellow hue. That's a no from me, so they should pick the third fountain. Jeremy and Joshua were finally ready to begin their hike. There were 3 different hiking trails they could follow. They wanted to choose the longest trail to be able to spend more time on the mountain. Take a look at the hiking trail map. You have 10 seconds to tell me which trail is the longest. It's the second trail. During their hike, Jeremy wanted to take some photos for his social media account, so they decided to go off-path, deep into the forest. But suddenly, an elf stopped them and said,
I am the guardian of this forest. I won't allow you to walk any further. Unless you know the answer to this riddle. I have cities but no houses, forests but no trees, and rivers but no water. What am I?
Do you know the answer? It's a map. It became dark before Jeremy and Joshua could get back on the hiking trail. They decided to spend the night in the forest, just in case. Can you help them pick which tree they should build their tent under? Do you see the snake hole here next to the second tree? The consequences would be disastrous if they built their tent above it. And as for the third tree, there's a bee's nest on one of the branches, so it wouldn't be wise to pick that one. That's why they should pick the first tree. After completing their adventure and returning to their hotel room, Jeremy and Joshua started comparing the photos they had taken. But Joshua noticed that there were 5 differences in the photos they took at the same place. Take a look at them both here. Can you spot them? In the first photo, the mountaintop view is covered with snow, but that's not the case in the second photo. Secondly, the logo that Jeremy's t-shirt has in the first photo is different in the second photo. Thirdly, in the second photo, a pair of glowing eyes can be seen in between the trees, which doesn't exist in the first photo. Creepy. As for the fourth difference, in the first photo, Joshua is holding 2 of his trekking poles. But in the second photo, he's only holding 1. And lastly, in the first photo, there are 2 cable cars riding to the top of the mountain. But in the second photo, there's only 1. Arya's favorite pop star, Peyton Swiftly, was coming to town to give a concert, and Arya really wanted to go. Unfortunately, tickets were sold out very fast, and Arya couldn't get one. However, after one of the ticket buyers returned their ticket, the ticket website announced they would give the ticket for free to the person who knew the answer to this riddle. I'm full of keys, but I can't open any locks. What am I? Can you help Arya out? The answer is a piano. Elsa was working at the HR department, and she was going to interview 3 candidates for the company's project manager position. But as soon as Elsa greeted them, she noticed that one of them was not human. Can you tell who? It's the second guy. He's not blinking at all. 2 pregnant ladies attended the pregnancy yoga class at the gym. But as they were preparing for the class, the yoga instructor noticed that one of them was actually a robot working undercover to study humans. Can you guess who? The second lady is holding an inflatable fitness ball. The weight indicated on the ball is probably just a joke because air cannot weigh that much. Meanwhile, the first lady broke the scales. She's very petite despite being pregnant. If she was a human, her weight wouldn't be able to break these scales. Brandon finally convinced his dad to give money to him to go camping with his friends, with only one condition. He wanted Brandon to send him a photo from the camping trip every day. But the first day he sent him a photo, his father could tell that Brandon lied to him, and he didn't go camping at all. How did he know? Brandon clearly photoshopped himself because everyone else in the photo has shadows, but Brandon doesn't. It was Annabelle's mother's birthday, and she wanted to place a secret gift in her mother's office as a surprise. But when she arrived there, unfortunately, the office door was locked. But luckily, her mom was kind of forgetful, and that's why she left a note with a hint for herself. Take a look at it. Can you figure out the combination? Each number is the number of lines in the respective letter. There are 3 lines in the letter K. There are 2 lines in the letter L. There are 4 lines in the letter E, and there is only 1 line in the letter I. So, following the same logic, there are 4 lines in M, 2 lines in V, 3 lines in Z, and 3 lines in F. That makes the combination 4, 2, 3, 3. Casey wanted a new hobby for herself, so she decided to learn knitting and crocheting. She went to the crafting store to buy supplies. For her beginner's project, she needed to buy a green yarn, size 7 knitting needles, and a pattern book. Take a look inside the store. Can you help her find all these items? Here's the green yarn, here are the number 7 knitting needles, and here is the pattern book. Jackson went hiking in the woods, but when his cell phone ran out of battery, he couldn't use his navigation and got lost. He walked for hours and started to feel exhausted and hungry. Luckily, he finally came across a farmhouse with lots of apple trees. He wanted to pick an apple and rest there while he ate it. But then, suddenly the owner of the farm stopped him and said,
"This is private property. You're stealing my fruits. But I'll let you eat that apple if you can answer my riddle correctly. I can fly without wings. I can cry without eyes. Wherever I go, darkness follows me. What am I?"
The answer is a cloud.
A new ice cream parlor opens up in Matt's neighborhood. He goes there to check it out. It's pretty crowded because they offer 1 free ice cream serving to each customer. Matt meets a pretty lady named Kitty in the line. He falls in love with her right away, but unfortunately, she's already married. Can you find her husband among these guys? It's the second man. He's the only one who doesn't hold any ice cream. And Kitty is holding 2 ice cream servings, 1 for herself and 1 for her spouse. The next day, Matt missed his alarm. And now he's late for work. His boss is going to be furious. Matt might even get fired. But wait a minute. It turned out that the big boss is out of the office today. He's having a last-minute business trip, so Matt can relax. But suddenly, the boss calls him on the phone.
Hello.
"Where are you? You got 10 minutes to get to the office." Matt replies, "I am in the subway right now." "Well, I got something I need you to do for me. Call me when you're in the office." Matt is a pretty genius liar. How did he fool his boss? Matt had a subway noise track on his computer. He played it when he was on the phone with the boss. Clever. Matt enters the local bakery on the way to the office.
Hello.
The cook brings 2 trays with fresh tartines. Take your time and try to spot 10 differences between them. Ready to see the answer? Here they are. What about these 2 breakfasts? Can you find 10 differences? Over here. Matt arrives at the office. Oh no. Someone has changed the password on their corporate computer. It consists of 7 digits. Matt texts his coworker and asks about the new code. He receives the following reply. Can you help him figure out the code? The number of fingers implies the right digit in the password. So Matt should enter 1, 0, 5, 2, 3, 1, and 0. Matt is an illustrator. His boss sends some files and asks him to separate the images and add some colors.
Oh.
Unfortunately, all the layers are merged. Can you spot 6 different objects in this picture? Here they are. What about this one? Can you spot 11 objects? Over here. Matt's sister, Ashley, is getting married. He arrives at the event, and she asks him to take a picture of her with some friends. But someone pranks the bride in the middle of the photo shoot and spills paint on her beautiful dress. Can you guess who did it by just looking at this picture? It's the man on the right. He has a rope in his hands, and it's tied to the bucket. Ashley changes and the wedding goes great. After the ceremony, they throw a party in a restaurant. This place is very popular among the newlyweds. Matt faces 3 brides in the lobby and spots the fake one right away.
Hello.
What about you? It's the third lady. She's wearing regular jeans and sneakers under her dress. And also, she's wearing a wig. She must be just trying on a costume. The wedding dinner begins, and the waiters serve the first course. But suddenly, the lights turn off for 15 seconds. When the power is back again, Matt finds out that his golden watch is gone. He questions 4 suspects. Karen says, "I was eating the wedding cake when the light turned off. It was delicious." Nick says, "I was talking on the phone with my grandpa. When it got dark, I just continued our conversation." David says, "I was washing my hands in the bathroom." And Stella says, "I was taking pictures of the food for my Instagram. The local cuisine is so fancy." Who's lying? Karen. She said she was eating the cake. But take a look at the wedding cake. It hasn't been cut yet. The dinner has just started. It so happened that Matt is spending the Christmas holidays with 3 of his ex-girlfriends. They go to a fancy ski resort in Alaska. It was the first day of vacation when Matt was found poisoned in his bedroom. The police interrogate his ex-girlfriends. All the 3 ladies went away that day, and Matt stayed in the hotel for a nap. Megan says, "I was shopping all day long." Lola says, "I went to the beach to sunbathe and swim. When I returned, I found Matt lying unconscious." And Sophie says, "I went to the local coffee shop to write my novel. Nobody wanted to join me." Who's lying? Lola, it's Christmas time, so it should be very cold in Alaska. She couldn't swim and sunbathe outdoors. Finally, Matt gets better and leaves the hospital.
Yeah.
He returns to the ski resort and takes a look at the mountains. What are they doing wrong? This guy is riding a snowboard. He doesn't need ski poles. After the Alaska trip, Matt gets a new job in New Orleans. He finds a great apartment and moves in. 3 neighbors knock on his door to greet the new neighbor. One of these ladies is a real witch. Can you spot who exactly? The first lady brought a cake. It looks pretty innocent. The third lady brought a plant. Looking good too. But the second woman brought a basket with food. And there's a snake crawling around her gifts. Matt wakes up in a weird maze in the middle of the night. The only way to escape is to walk through this labyrinth. But unfortunately, there are 4 dangerous creatures waiting for him on the way. First of all, there's a Gorgon who turns everybody she sees into stone. Secondly, a werewolf. It's a full moon, so he's very hungry. The third creature is a tree goblin. He can grab people with his strong branches, and it's impossible to get out. And finally, there's a siren who can use her singing to make you do anything she wants. Luckily, Matt has 4 magic potions which can be helpful. Each potion has a 24-hour effect. If you spill the first potion on anybody, they'll become silent. The second potion will make any creature very weak. The third potion turns anyone into a vegan. And the fourth potion causes blindness. Can you help Matt distribute the potions among the creatures correctly? Matt should use the silence potion to neutralize the siren, use the blinding potion against the Gorgon, turn the werewolf into a vegan, and weaken the tree goblin. The next day, Matt receives a postcard. There's a note hidden in this face. Can you figure out the message? The features of this face form the word liar. Matt purchases a tour to see the sights of the state. He takes a nap on the train. After a while, he wakes up and sees that his tablet is missing. Matt interrogates 4 tourists nearby. Liam says, "Sorry, I was listening to the music and my eyes were closed. I don't know who did it." Willow says, "I think it was Ronald. He's very suspicious. Why would he need so many gadgets on a tourist trip?" Ronald says, "I have a bunch of my own gadgets. I don't need your old, outdated tablet." And Mary says, "I'm sorry, but I was sleeping. Can you spot the thief?" It was Mary. She hid Matt's tablet inside her magazine. Matt goes to the dining car. There he sees 4 tourists speaking an unknown language, so Matt can't understand them. But still, he manages to spot this lady's boyfriend right away. Can you see him too? It's the second guy. They have similar tattoos on their necks. Matt wakes up locked in an abandoned house. He finds 3 doors, but only one of them leads to freedom, and he has only one chance to find it. Hungry tigers are waiting behind the first door. There's a big fire behind the second door, and a werewolf is hiding behind the third door. How can Matt escape? He should just wait until the fire goes out.
In a city's museum, an expensive golden egg covered in diamonds went missing. The museum workers noticed it in the morning, and, of course, they immediately reported the theft to the police. The city's best detective started investigating the case. She carefully looked through the footage and identified 3 main suspects. Then, she saw a handprint on the glass the egg was placed behind. Take a look at these handprints and at the suspect's hands. Who is guilty? It's this person right here. Look, the prints of the fingers aren't full because something came in the way. This person is wearing rings right there, so it's their print. In a little town, someone stole an expensive silver collar for a cat, covered in diamonds and precious gems. The shop's owner called the police, and the investigation started. There were 3 suspects. Mr. Johnson said, "I came to look for earrings for my daughter's birthday. We don't have any pets." Mrs. Martin said, "I got a bracelet for myself. I didn't steal anything." Mrs. Tanner said, "I have no idea what you're talking about." The thief is Mr. Johnson. There are cat footprints in his garden, so the family obviously has a pet. There was a robber in the city, and no one could catch him for several months. After another incident, the police saw the robber entering a hospital. They walked in and ran into 2 doctors. Which one of them is fake and is actually the robber? It's this guy, the one who's wearing headphones instead of the stethoscope. Mrs. Stevens went on a 3-month vacation, but had her workers coming regularly to maintain the house. When she returned, she realized that one of the workers was skipping quite a bit of work once in a while, going on an unplanned vacation themselves. Who was it? a gardener who takes care of the outside garden, a housekeeper who takes care of everything in the house, or a painter who is coming to paint her house? It's the housekeeper. Look, the houseplants dried out. Seems like he skipped a couple of weeks of work and probably only cleaned the house right before Mrs. Stevens returned. Do you think you can figure out who the bride of this man is? It's this woman right here. Look, she has the same tattoo as this guy. A small city's police got a message that monsters silently flooded the town and now live among humans. It's not a problem, but the police decided to identify them all to keep an eye on them. Can you help the police identify in which houses the monsters live? Here's the first task. You see two houses and a vampire lives in one of them. Which one? It must be this house, the dark one where the blinds are closed on all the windows. Vampires don't like sunlight. Okay, the next task is to find the house of a mummy. Here are two possible options. Which house does the mummy live in? This one. Look, there are bandages around the house. The next creature whose residence we need to identify is a gnome. Take a look inside two houses. Can you tell where the gnome lives? Probably in this house. All furniture is smaller and placed way lower than in the other house, so it must be the residence of someone small, like a gnome. Now, we need to find the house of a centaur. Take a close look at both houses. Can you identify the one? This one right here. See, there are horse prints on the pathways to the house. The last one. A real witch lives in one of these houses. Can you tell where you're most likely to be bewitched? Did you notice this cute black cat? That's a famous witch sidekick, so my bet is on this house. On a cold January night, Delaney was found unconscious in the cloakroom when her best friend Jane came looking for her. She was at a house party with a bunch of college students. The police interrogated several students, asking where they were around the time of the accident. Allison said, "I was upstairs all the time, dancing with my friends." Liam said, "I went to a kiosk to pick up some candy for my girlfriend. There were only drinks and chips." Oliver said,
I was talking to a girl. She seems to like me.
Who should have been taken to the police station? Liam. It's a cold night, and he would need a jacket to go to a kiosk. And if he needed a jacket, he would go into the cloakroom to get it, and would have found Delaney instead of Jane. So either he lied or walked past an unconscious girl. Ronan Collins, a successful businessman, went missing. His family reported it to the police. The main suspect was Ronan's business partner, Jennifer. She had been out of the city, but as soon as she returned, the police knocked on her door and asked if she knew something about Ronan's disappearance 2 weeks prior. "I just returned from my month-long trip to the Amazon rainforest an hour ago. I haven't heard anything about it." The detective didn't believe her right away and took her to the station for further investigation. Why? From the photos, we can clearly see that Jennifer dyes her hair. She says that she just returned from her trip, which was a whole month long. But her hair is perfectly dyed. some roots would grow out. So she's lying at least about something. Esme was having a walk in a forest and got lost. But she found the house of a witch, walked in, petted her black cat, and asked the witch to take her home. The witch was busy operating on a frog, a rat, and a crow. She was using magical healing gloves, but she only had 2 pairs, so she needed Esme's help to figure it out, and then she'd take her home. How can she operate on all 3 animals with the 2 pairs of magical gloves, but remain sanitary? The witch should operate on the frog wearing the first pair of gloves over the second one. Then, she should operate on the rat using just the second pair. Finally, she should operate on the crow wearing the first gloves inside out, worn over the second glove. Detective Callum had to travel to a small neighboring city where dogs were being kidnapped every night, right out of the house. There were already 4 of them missing, and all of them were living on the same street. Mila was kidnapped first, then Karma the next night. After that, it was Jake, and then Mr. Sniffer. There were just 3 dogs left that lived on the street. Can you figure out which dog is going to be the next target? Look carefully at the dogs that were kidnapped, or actually at their collars. The first dog that was kidnapped has a red collar. Karma has an orange collar. Then Jake was wearing a yellow one, and Mr. Sniffers owned a green one. Seems like they're being kidnapped in order of rainbow colors. So, the next target should be this dog, the one wearing the blue collar. Mason called the police, reporting that his metal safe box with his savings was stolen. He walked into his bedroom right in time to spot the robber throwing the safe out of the window and disappearing in the window right after. So, Mason wanted the robber caught, or his insurance to pay him the money he had lost. The detective came to investigate. "Did you touch anything in the room after the incident?" he asked. "No, I came straight to you." "Then there was no robber," the detective concluded. "Why?" The robber couldn't go out of the window without stepping on the bed that was standing right by the window, but the bed is perfectly made. How is it possible if Mason didn't touch it?
I know you want to give your brain a shake. And I also know the perfect way to do it. Get ready for a new portion of tricky riddles. A man had a book that was worth $50,000. There were only 2 such books in existence. He threw the book into the furnace, reducing it to a pile of soot. Why did he do this? He destroyed the book because he had both copies. After destroying one of them, there was only one left, so its value immediately went up. Mr. Brown's sons found their dad unconscious on the floor of his office. They immediately called their father's friend, Detective Smith. The detective knew that Mr. Brown was uber wealthy. His sons were going to inherit loads of money, but one of them must have needed money urgently. Smith questioned each of the brothers separately. David, the oldest, said, "I came in to feed the fish, and Dad was still fine." Marcus said that he had come in to discuss his business plans, and his father had given him some great advice. And Lucas, the youngest brother, said, "I entered Dad's office because I needed a favor. I wanted to take his car to impress the girl I like." Detective Smith immediately realized who was lying. And you? It's David. He said he had come to feed the fish. And indeed, there's an aquarium in the office. But there are no fish in it. Sarah and Liam had a son called Oliver. On Saturday, the couple went out for dinner and left Oliver at home. When they returned, the boy was nowhere to be found.
Oh no!
The anxious parents called the police. A detective arrived and questioned everyone in the house. The babysitter said she'd been packing Oliver's school bag for the next day. The maid said she'd spent the whole evening cleaning the kitchen, and the cook said he'd been preparing food for the next day. He was listening to music and didn't hear anything. The police immediately knew who was lying. And what about you? It was the babysitter. Children don't go to school on Sundays, so Oliver didn't need his school bag to be packed. Detective Adams arrived at the Museum of Modern Music because someone had stolen legendary shoes that belonged to Elvis Presley. A museum guard told the detective that they had reviewed the footage from security cameras and found out that all visitors had come in and left empty-handed, and the shoes were too bulky to put them in a pocket or under a t-shirt. Detective Adams examined the footage and said he knew who had stolen the shoes. Have you figured it out? It's the red-headed guy. When he entered the exhibition, he was shorter than other visitors. But when he was leaving, he was as tall as the others. He must be wearing Elvis's high-heeled shoes. Let's check how attentive you are. Look at this picture and try to figure out what's wrong here. The teacher is very suspicious. She doesn't get reflected in the mirror. Now, how about these people? What are they doing wrong? See that coffee machine in the background? The cup is placed incorrectly and the coffee is spilling. A witch owned a field that had many gold mines. She hired one person at a time to mine that gold for her. She promised 10% of what that person mined in a day, and they would have to give her the rest. But the witch was blind, so she had 3 magic bags that could talk. They reported how much gold they held each day, and this was how she found out if the workers were cheating. Upon getting the job, each person agreed that if they weren't honest, they would be turned into stone. Around the witch's mines, there were many stone statues. A man named Logan once accepted the job. The witch promised him, "If I wrongly accuse you of cheating, I'll be turned into stone." One night, Logan overheard the bags talking to the witch. The next evening, he submitted some gold and kept 1.6 pounds for himself. Later, the witch talked to her bags. The first bag said it held 16 pounds that day. The second one said it held 5 pounds. The third one said it held 2 pounds. The witch confronted Logan. "You think you could fool me? Now you shall turn into stone," she screamed. 1 second later, the witch turned into a stone statue herself. How did Logan deceive her? Logan put 2 pounds of gold in bag number 1, 3 pounds in bag number 2, and 11 pounds in bag number 3. He then put bag number 2 into bag number 3, and bag number 1 into bag number 2. Each of the bags only felt the weight of the gold above it. Thus, they inadvertently gave the message that 23 pounds of gold had been mined. 2 cars are driving through the city. They both started their journey at the same time. The green car is moving at a speed of 30 miles per hour. The yellow car is faster. Its speed is 50 miles per hour. And still, at one point, the green car comes across the yellow car. How is it possible? The cars are traveling in opposite directions. Larry called the police because he had some concerns about his friend Brandon. He said, "Brandon has recently returned from Brazil and has been behaving strangely since then. I've just received a weird phone call from him. I think it would be better if you came with me." When police officers picked him up, Larry gave them the address. He explained he hadn't been there yet. Brandon rented the place soon after he came back from his trip. When they arrived at the house, they saw a mess inside. There was some paint spilled on the floor, and one police officer accidentally stepped into it. Larry noticed it. "How unlucky! Let me take you to the bathroom." After that, he immediately got arrested. Why? Larry said he'd never visited Brandon's new home before. Then how did he know where the bathroom was? John's mom got angry with the guy and locked him in his room. But she wasn't cruel. She left her son a chance to get out of there. To do it, he needed to find the answer to this riddle. Turn me on my side and I am everything. Cut me in half and I am nothing. What am I? Can you help the guy to escape? The answer is the number 8. On its side, it's infinity, but cut it in half, and you'll get 2 zeros. It's a 5-digit whole number. It reads the same, forward, backward, and upside down. Its second digit is half of the third one. The 5th digit is the product of the first and the second ones. And the sum of all the digits is 10. What number is it? It's 10801. Eric got lost in a museum. While he was trying to find a way out, it got really late. All the doors were already closed. Finally, the guy saw 3 staircases. The first one was all covered in bizarre nettles with razor-sharp leaves and long spikes. The second had giant, stinking flowers with a stench almost impossible to bear. And the third staircase was an impassable jungle of cacti. Which staircase should Eric choose? He should opt for the second staircase. Even though the flowers are gross, they're relatively harmless. When you add 5 to 6, you will get 11. But when you add 6 to 7, you will get 1. How is that possible? It's possible when you're looking at a clock. A coin is put into an empty bottle. Then this bottle is plugged with a cork. How can you remove the coin without breaking the bottle or pulling the cork out? All you need to do is